Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, we thank you for guiding us all here today. Um, we ask you to guide us, to help us in our meeting today. May all this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. May Father, Son,
Amen.
Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Mm.
Good afternoon again to everyone. Okay,
Good
so
afternoon, sir.
uh, okay, Kat, you can proceed with the roll call.
Thank you po. Thank you, Attorney. Acknowledging first the presence of our presiding officer, Engineer Arnold Balocating. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Engineer Elmer Engineer Elmer Gomez.
Yes, ma'am. Good
Engineer
afternoon.
Arnel. Thank you po. Pledge. Engineer Arnel Berlado. And from the BAC TWG, we have Attorney Frank Edward Marty,
Present online.
Engineer Raul Cruzena.
Present online.
Thank you po. Engineer Eva Lazatin.
Online, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Engineer Emmanuel Tolosa.
Present po.
Engineer Mr. Mark Kevin Badua. Thank you, sir. And from the back secretariat, we have the overall head, Engineer
Kat, wala
Leandro
po.
Briggs.
Kat, present ako.
Ay, Sir Moises. Sorry po, Sir Moises Tacopon.
Present ako.
Noted,
Hello.
sir. Sorry.
Relax ka lang, Kat.
From,
Relax lang.
from, from the back
Kinakabahan ka eh.
secretariat, from the back secretariat, we have Engineer Leandro Barquez, Miss Melina Reyes, Miss Nina Cristel Roma Santa, Miss Sahara Teresa Buwit, Miss Lita Linda Pileo, thank you, Miss Ana Danica Ibay, Mr. Noted, ma'am, Mr. Romar Palubino. Moving on, sir, with the majority of the composition of BAC Alpha being present today, we have a quorum, sir.
Okay. I think General Milo is also in the room already.
Yes, sir. Sir, sorry. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Sorry, I just finished inventory meeting at supply. So I am now joining present online. Thank you.
Noted, sir. Thank you so much po. Moving on to our agenda. First in our item, sir. Yes, sir.
May I request who are the end user representative of this project? Kasi hindi mo nabanggit.
Yes, but this will be a project of ANS. May we request for I think, sir, that the WG po will present the pre-bid for this project. Si Sir Norik Baez po, I guess.
No,
I was informed po.
as a member of the BAC, we need to identify who is the representative of the end user.
Sir Arnold, if I may, for ADMS, Sir Arnold, the end user is architect Emerson Salas, and for ANS, ANS end user, please, can you please identify yourself? Sorry. End user from the ANS, please.
Attorney, for a while, kaka-joining ko lang. Di kaya ito nakaka-join. User.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sige, anyway. So we have representative from ENS as well as ADMS. Okay, sige. Kat, you can proceed now with the agenda.
Yes, sir. First in our agenda, sir, is
I-accept lang yung end user ng internet. Para sa ina.
Thank you, Sir Emer. Noted on that, sir. Uh, Secretary, can you please proceed to the first agenda item of the agenda, please?
Sir, first item po is all ANS project. Am I going to proceed for the prep rock?
May proceed.
Pre-bid.
Pre-bid, first items po kasi are all ANS projects po. And since the end user representative is not yet online, sir, can we proceed po sa prep rock prep rock items po?
Elmer, wala pa ba yung ano?
Yes, si Arlo, they're trying to join pero hindi sila ina-accept eh. Paki-accept mo, paki-check who's hosting yung video.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, if I may suggest, sir, I think, sir, we proceed with the presentation, the pre-bid, sir, of ANS project, even though the ANS end user is not yet here, considering we already have a quorum, sir. So we can still proceed with the presentation of the pre-bid of ANS project, sir.
Okay.
Tony, nandiyan na po. Nandiyan si Albert and si
Okay,
Roger.
medyo mali.
You can proceed. You can proceed now.
Presentation of the pre-bid conference.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. First item po for the pre-bid conference is the supply and delivery of 30 pieces of 20-liter lubricant gear oil to various radar sites with bid number 22-004-04 amounting to 1,500,000. But before we proceed po, can we call on for the participating bidders for this project po? May we request to introduce yourself and the company you are representing po? To participating bidders po for the first item, can you introduce yourself po for proper identification? Thank you.
Mukhang nakamute kayo. Sa Colby ba to? Nakamute yata.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. Naririnig po ako.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Leia Arsolos
Yes,
from
ma'am.
Colby Resources Philippines.
Okay, how about the next bidder, the other bidder? Mag-isa lang ba? Secretariat?
Yes. Do we have participating bidders pa po? Other from Colby? Having none po, may we call on po for the TWG for the presentation of bid documents po for the first item. Thank you.
As a member of the BAC Alpha TWG, I will present the pre-bid for the supply of 30 pieces 20-liter gear oil for radar at various sites. So I will share my screen now. Did you see?
Wala pa.
Sir Moises, you're not seeing your screen, sir.
Oh. Yes. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a pre-bid conference for the project supply and delivery of 30 pieces, 20-liter pail lubricating gear oil for various radar sites with bid number 22-004-004 Alpha. May 4, 2022, 2 p.m. today via conference web, conference BAC Alpha meeting, conference room. So the outline, invitation to bid, instruction to bidders with corresponding BDS, general conditions of the contract with corresponding special conditions of the contract, a checklist, and then discussions, clarifications with the bidders. Invitation to bid. We have the invitation to bid for the supply and delivery of 30 pieces of 20-liter Pail lubricating gear oil to various radar sites. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, through the CAAP Corporate Operating Budget for fiscal year 2022, intends to apply the total sum of 1,500,000 pesos, being the approved budget for the contract, to payments under the contract for supply and delivery of 30 pieces 20-liter Pail lubricating gear oil. The various radar sites with CAAP project ID 22-004-04 Alpha. The items is 30 pails of 20-liter Pail packaging synthetic high-performance gear and multi-purpose oil with Lubricom Lube technology, Luber lubrication, Lubricant, gem for the 220N or its equivalent. The specifications, we have viscosity grade 220, viscosity millimeter squared per second at 220, 40 degrees centigrade temperature, viscosity 27, and viscosity index 155. So these are all the specifications of the gear oil. So the delivery sites, 3 pairs each, we have the Apari Radar Station at Tugigaraw Airport, Lawag Radar Stations at Lawag International Airport, Palawan Radar Station, Puerto Princesa International Airport, Manila Radar Stations at Marbil, Parañaque, Mactan Radar Stations at Mactan International Airport, Mount Magic Radar Stations at Mactan International Airport, Davao Radar Station at Davao International Airport, Bacolod Radar Stations, Bacolod Airport, Zamboanga Radar Stations at Zamboanga International Airport. So, bids received in excess of the ABC shall be automatically rejected at bid opening. The CAAP now invites bids for the above procurement project. Delivery of goods is required within 85 calendar days. Bidders should have completed within 5 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2's instructions to bidders. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised implementing rules and regulation of Republic Act RA 9184. Bidding is restricted for Filipino citizens, sole proprietorships, partnerships, or organizations with at least 60% interest of outstanding capital stocks belonging to citizens of the Philippines and to citizens or organizations of a country, the laws or regulations of which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA number 5183. Prospective bidders may obtain further information from BAC Secretariat of CAAP, Mia Road, Pasay City, and inspect the bidding documents at address given below during the office hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Monday to Friday, except declared holidays, weekends, and suspension of work. A complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by the interested bidders on 26 April 2. Until the deadline of submission of bids from the given address and websites below, and upon payment of the applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guidelines issued by GPPB in the amount of 5,000 pesos. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through email. The CAAP will hold a pre-bid conference on today, May 4, 2022, through video conferencing or webcasting Google application, which shall be open to prospective bidders who will coordinate with the BAC Secretariat or Google Meet link. Bid must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission at office address indicated below on or before May 17, 2022 at 2 p.m. The CAAP reserves the right to reject any and all bids declared failure of bidding or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with Section 35.6, 41, and 41 of the 2016 revised IRRA 9184 without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. So for further information, please refer to Engineer Leandro Marquez, the overall head BAC Secretariat. And also you may visit the following websites shown below. And also telephone number 7944-2358. Instruction to bidders. Scope of bid. The procuring entity wishes to receive bids for the supply and delivery of 30 20-liter Pail lubricating gear oil to various radar sites with identification 22-004-04 Alpha. Okay. The procuring projects referred to herein as the project is composed of one lot, the details of which are described in Section 7, Technical Specifications. Funding information, the GOP through the source of funding as indicated below for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of 1,500,000. The source of funding is the corporate operating budget. Bidding requirements. The bidding of the project shall be governed by the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 revised IRR, including its generic procurement manuals and associated policies, rules and regulations as the primary source thereof. While herein clauses shall serve as the secondary source thereof. Any amendments made to the IRR and other GPPB issuances shall be applicable only to the ongoing posting, advertisement, or IB by the BAC through the issuance of the supplemental bid bulletin. The bidder, by the act of submitting its bid, shall be deemed to have verified and accepted the general requirements of this project, including other factors that may affect the cost, duration, and execution of implementation of the contract, project, or work, and examine all instructions, forms, and terms and project requirements in the bidding document. So, instruction to bidders, 5.3, under the eligible bidders, pursuant to Section 23.4.1.3 of the 2016 revised IRR number 9184. The bidder shall have a single SLCC or single largest completed contract. That is at least one contract similar to the project, the value of which adjusted to current prices using the PSA's CPI must be at least equivalent to. For this purpose, the contract similar to the project shall be supply and delivery of oil and lubricants, completed within 5 years prior to the deadline of the submission and receipt of bids. Subcontracts, the bidders may subcontract process. So for this particular project, the bid datasheet has no further instructions. So documents comprising the bid eligibility and technical components. It is already mentioned the instruction to bidders on your bid document. And then for the bid prices for this particular project, the price of the goods shall be quoted DDP, CAAP, Near Road, Pasay City, or the applicable international commercial terms in terms for this project. For bid security, the bid security shall be in the form of bid security declarations or any form of the following forms and amounts. So the amount of that less than 30,000, which is equivalent to 2% of the ABC. If bid security is in cash, cashier's manager's check, bank draft, guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit. The amount of that less than 75,000, which is equivalent to 5% of the ABC if bid security is the surety bond. So, sealing and markings, each and every page thereof shall be initialed by the duly authorized representative of the bidder. Submitted eligibility, technical and financial documents shall be properly marked with index tabs or ear tabs and must be sequentially paginated in accurate order to the form such as page 3 of 100, etc. Pagination shall be sequential all throughout the documents inside the envelope. Bids not complying with this above instructions shall be automatically disqualified. Each bidder shall submit one copy, the first and second components of each bid. So, this is the block diagram of the bid document. We have the main envelope. Inside the main envelope is the technical eligibility component and the financial component. Altogether are the input or put inside the main envelope. So like this for the table of contents, and this is the example of the tabbing, text tabbing, and below is the example of pagination. For example, page 1 of 75 pages with signature of the bidder's representative, and the last page is numbered also as 75, page 75 of 75 pages. So next is the 19.3. On this particular project, we have the partial bid is not allowed. The goods are grouped in a single lot and that shall not be divided into sublots or whatever. For the purpose of bidding, evaluation, and contract award. So for post-qualification of further instructions, it is these instructions to bidders is also included in the bid documents. For signing of the contract per CAAP memorandum dated 17 September 2018 regarding disqualification of prospective bidders with pending cases against the government and the procurement activities of the CAAP, all prospective bidders shall be required to submit the following: a certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidders as prescribed under the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. And number 2, they have to secure legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP enforcement and service with respect to the non-tendency of any cases of prospective bidders against the authority. Instruction to bidders for post-qualification, it is also included in the bid documents. General conditions of the contract with corresponding special conditions of the contract. Scope of contract. For this particular project, we have the special conditions, delivery, and documents. For purposes of the contract, EXW, FOB, FCA, CIF, CIP, and DDP, and other trade terms used to describe the obligations of the parties shall have the meaning assigned to them by the current editions of Incoterms published by the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris. The delivery terms of this contract shall be as follows. The delivery terms applicable to the contract are DDP, delivered to CAAP, rider side, in accordance to Incoterms. The delivery terms applicable to this contract are delivered to CAAP rider sites. Risk and title will pass from the supplier to the procuring entity upon receipt and final acceptance of the goods at their destination. Delivery of goods shall be made by the supplier in accordance with the terms specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements. For purposes of this clause, the procuring entity's representative at the project sites are the facility in charge or ship supervisor. Incidental services, the supplier is required to provide all of the following services, including additional services, if any, specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements. Performance or supervision of on-site stocking of goods. Furnishings of a material safety data sheet of each appropriate unit of the supplied goods. The contract price for the goods shall include the prices charged by the supplier for incidental services and shall not exceed the prevailing rates charged to other parties by the supplier for similar services. Packaging. For this particular project, special conditions for packaging must be the supplier shall provide such packaging of the goods as required to prevent their damage or deterioration during transit to their final destination, as indicated in this contract. The packaging shall be sufficient to withstand, without limitation, rough handling during transit and exposure to extreme temperatures, salt and precipitation during transit, and open storage. Packaging case size and weight shall take into consideration, where appropriate, the remoteness of the goods' final destination and the absence of heavy handling facilities at all points in transit. The packaging, marking, and documentations within outside the packages shall comply strictly such special requirements as shall be expressly provided for in the contract, including the additional requirements, if any, specified below, and in any subsequent instructions ordered by the procuring entity. The outer packaging must be clearly marked on at least 4 sides as follows: name of the procuring entity, which is the CAAP, name of supplier, contract description, final destination, gross weight, any special lifting instructions, any special handling instructions, any relevant HASCEM classification, a packaging list of identifying the contents and quantities of the package is to be placed on an accessible point of the outer packaging if practical. If not practical, the packaging list is to be placed inside the outer packaging but outside the secondary packaging. Transportation. Where the supplier is required under contract to deliver the goods, CIF, CIP, or DDP, transport of the goods to the port of destination or such other named place of destination in the Philippines, as shall be specified in these contracts, shall be arranged and paid for the supplier, and the cost thereof shall be included in the contract price. Where the supplier is required under this contract to transport the goods to the specified place of destinations within the Philippines, defined as the project site, transport to such place of destination in the Philippines, including assurance and storage, and shall be specified in this contract, shall be arranged by the supplier, and related costs shall be included in the contract price. where the supplier is required under contract to deliver the goods, CIP or DDP, goods are to be transported on carriers of Philippine registry. In the event that no carrier of Philippine registry is available, goods may be shipped by a carrier which is not of Philippine registry, provided that the supplier obtains and presents to the procuring entity certification to this effect from the nearest Philippine consulate to the post of dispatch. In the event that the carrier of Philippine registry are available but their schedule delays the supplier in its performance of this contract, the period from when the goods were first ready for shipment and the actual date of shipment, the period of delay will be considered force majeure. The procuring entity accepts no liability to the damage of goods during transit other than those prescribed by Incoterms for DDP deliveries. In the case of goods supplied from within the Philippines or supplied by domestic supplier's risk and title will not be deemed to have passed to the procuring entity until the receipt and final acceptance at the final destination. The procuring entity accepts no liability for the damage of goods during transit other than those prescribed by Incoterms or DDP deliveries. In the case of goods supplied from within the Philippines or supplied by domestic suppliers, risk and title will not be deemed to have passed for the procuring entity until their receipt and final acceptance at the final destination. Intellectual property rights, suppliers shall indemnify the procuring entity against all third-party claims of infringement of patent, trademark, or industrial design rights arising from use of goods of any part of thereof. Special conditions again for this project. The procurement shall accept no liability for the damage of goods during transit. So it is already mentioned. Schedule of requirements. Section 6, schedule of requirements. The delivery schedule is expressed as weeks, months stipulated hereafter. A delivery date, which is the date of delivery for the project site. So the item is 20-liter Pail packaging synthetic high-performance gear and multipurpose oil with description mentioned. So quantity 3 pails per radar site. Total of 30 pairs. Delivered. The durations for the delivery is within 85 calendar days. So below is the list of the sites for the delivery. We have the Apari Radar Station, Lawag Radar Station, Palawan Radar Station, Manila Radar Stations, Mactan Radar Station, Mount Magic Radar Station. This Mount Magic is also in Mactan. Calibo Radar Station, Davao Radar Station, Bacolod Radar Station, and Zamboanga Station. So listed below is the specifications for the gear oil. Also described in the bid documents. So the checklist, we have valid PDFs, registration certificate for Security and Exchange Commission or DVI, mayors or business permit issued by the city or municipality where the principal place of business of the prospective bidders is located. Tax clearance for EO number 398, series of 2000, as finally reviewed and approved by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So, statement of the prospective bidders of all its ongoing government and private contracts. So, these are all listed in the bid documents. So, for financial documents, we have the prospective bidders' accreditation of net financial contracting capacity, NFCC, committed line of credit or from a universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation. Class B documents if needed. Other documents, it also mentioned in the bid documents. So for financial component envelope, we have the original of duly signed and accomplished by financial bid form and original of duly signed and accomplished price schedules. So that's all. And for questions for the prospective bidders, you can ask now.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yes?
Regarding lang po, sir, sa similar project, diba, kasi di ba po nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic. So, with years,
Cutting out.
wala po kaming project na similar. So, hindi po aabot dun sa 50% po ang similar project. Kasi kung dagdag namin is not similar.
Cutting out ka, ma'am. End user, could you please answer the question of the bidder? Prospective bidder. Pakiulit po, ma'am. Hindi namin maintindihan. Nagka-cutting out po.
Okay, sorry po. Bali po sa similar project,
Yan.
sir.
Similar project, yes.
Yes, kasi po 'di ba nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic within 2 years. So yung similar project po namin with 'di ba 5 years lang, within 5 years. Kung 'di ba namin po natin yung 2 years, hindi po kasi abot yung aming tayo nga nagkaroon ng pandemic.
Yes, yes,
Tapos
yes.
similar project na na-produce. So, kukulangin po pag ng yung sa 50%.
Attorney Martin?
Mr. Chair, if I may respond, sir.
Go ahead, Attorney.
Ma'am, from Colby. Ma'am, I just want to confirm, ma'am, yung question niyo po pertains to the SLCC. You are saying po na yung sa requirement po natin na within 2 years, hindi po kayo makakapag-comply kasi yung reason niyo po is yung dahil sa pandemic. Tama po ba ang pagkakaintindi ko? Putol-putol po kasi kayo, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And
Tama.
you are asking now po na i-extend siya into 5 years.
Oo.
Okay.
5 years po kasi siya, di ba? Pag bininang mo siya ng 5 years, from 2018 until 2022, 3 years lang po kasi yung meron kami.
Sige. Ma'am, ganito po. In response to your question po, ma'am, our bidding documents po, naka-indicate na po kung ano po yung requirements. Hindi po namin pwede naman na i-tailor fit lang po yung requirements na para sa specific bidder. But in any way, in any case, ma'am, the technical working group together with the end user, ma'am, we will try to go over the documents and we will see if we can make the necessary adjustments. But as of now, ma'am, we cannot say directly, we cannot say directly po na pwede lang po namin i-adjust lang yung requirement na yan dahil sa hindi nyo po mamimit yung requirement. Titingnan po yan ng technical working group at saka ng end user, and kung meron man pong adjustments po, mag-i-issue po kami ng bid bulletin to reflect the adjustments po.
Okay. So, mag-i-issue ka ng bid bulletin.
Mag-i-issue po ng bid bulletin, ma'am, kung sakali pong maki-consider. Pero kung hindi naman po, wala pong pero yung requirement po namin remains as is po as reflected in the bid documents po.
Similar project talaga, sir. Hindi pwedeng other project.
Kung ano po yung stated doon sa SLCC po na requirement namin, ma'am, yun po yung i-comply po ni bidder po. Pero yun nga po, sa sinasabi ko nga po, kung dahil po sa ni-raise nyo po yung issue na yan, the technical working group together with the end user will try to look into this requirement, and kung kailangan man pong mag-issue kami ng another bid bulletin or mag-i-issue ng bid bulletin para ma-reflect yung necessary changes, mag-i-issue po kami. Pero kung wala pong na-issue na bid bulletin, ma'am, ibig sabihin po, yung requirement po natin, mananatili po kung ano po yung nasa bid documents po. Clear po, ma'am?
Yes, sir, clear po.
Sige po, salamat po, ma'am. Baka meron pa po kayong ibang questions po.
Yun lang po ang concern ko, sir. Sa iba, okay naman kami doon.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Okay, okay, so Secretariat, just to confirm, pakita lang yung
Yes. Yes, sir. Bali, isa lang po siya na nag-confirm kanina for that project, Ma'am Leia. Ma'am Leia, thank you for the participation po.
Okay. On that note, kung mayroong mga ibang bidders na nakikinig dito sa please, Secretariat, please give guidance on if we want to submit some or
Copy, sir. Okay, sir. Request for clarification on any part of the bidding documents or for an interpretation must be in writing and submitted to the BAC of the procuring entity concerned at least 10 calendar days before the deadline set for the submission and receipt of bids. The BAC shall respond to the said request by issuing a supplemental or bid bulletin duly signed by the BAC chairperson to be made available to those who have properly secured the bidding documents at least 7 calendar days before the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so since there is no more question from the proponent, so I think we could move on to the next agenda of the meeting. Thank you for the representative of Corby. Thank you. We proceed to the next agenda.
Mr. Chair, the next item of our agenda is the supply and delivery of ANS emergency radio communications and power systems with bid number 22-00504. The bid amount, the ABC of this project is 8,050,000, and this is an ANS project. The technical working group from the ANS, sir, will present the pre-bidding documents. But before that, sir, may we request, sir, the Secretariat, sir, to admit prospective bidders for these projects, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. May we request po the participating bidders for this project to introduce yourself and the company you are representing. Thank you.
Good afternoon po. Alexis Lance Reyes from Wireless Link Technologies.
Good afternoon po. Next bidder po.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, I'm JP Ordiliano from One Commerce International Corporation.
Make sure. Next bidder, please.
Good afternoon. Shall I proceed now with the presentation?
Secretariat, dalawa lang ba yung yung natin?
Yes, sir, Mr. John Philip and Sir Alexis.
Okay. Okay, so TWG, you can proceed with the presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Presentation ko.
Sir Manny, you may now share your screen.
I can't share my presentation. I'm having a hard time sharing my presentations. Sir Moises, naka-disable na ba yung sharing mo? I have some technical problem in sharing the presentation. Just a minute, sir. Cancel. Wala eh. Naka-open na yan eh.
Inopen mo yung...
Open na yan.
Yung screen mo.
Ayan.
Yan. Click yan. Yan. Tapos... Pareho mo yan. Balikan mo. Yan. Yan.
Wala eh.
Sure.
Wala eh.
Thank you.
Manny?
Just a minute, sir.
Hello, PWD. In the interest of time, could we... okay, sige, again na. Okay, thank you.
Okay na po ba?
Okay, Manny, you may proceed.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Please welcome to the pre-bid conference for the project Supply and Delivery of ANS, Emergency Radio Communications and Power Systems. Bid number for this project is 22-005-04 Alpha. The technical working group would like to present some information relative to the bidding process for this project. We have the invitation to bid, construction to bidders with corresponding BDS, general conditions of the contract with corresponding SCC, then the last is checklist. Right after the presentation, we'll have an open discussion and clarification from the prospective bidders. So for the invitation to bid, the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, CAAP, through the CAAP Corporate Operating Budget for fiscal year 2022, intends to apply the total sum of 8,050,000 pesos, being the approved ABC, to payments under the contract for supply and delivery of ANS, Emergency Radio Communication and Power Systems with CAAP Project ID number 22-005-04 alpha. For the brief descriptions of the deliverables for these projects, item number 1, the descriptions are as follows. 10 sets of ANS emergency radio communication and power system consisting of the following equipment. First, HF mobile point-to-point communication with the specs, with the following specifications: mobile HF transceivers, 125 watts, complete with the standard accessories, antenna system, antenna tuner, and regulated DC power supply. Second, BHF mobile air-to-ground communications. Technical specs are as follows: mobile VHF AM transceivers, 9 watts, complete with the standard accessories, antenna system, and regulated DC power supply. Third one is the VHF mobile ground communications. VHF FM handled transceivers, 5 watts, complete with the standard accessories. And for the mobile VHF FM transceiver, specs are as follows: 25 watts, complete with standard accessories, antenna system, and regulated DC power supply. The fourth ones are the accessories for radio communication, rugged transport cases, customized. And the last one is the portable solar power generator. This is the emergency portable solar power generator rated at 1,000 watts. Next, the invitation to bid. The first here is bids received in excess of the ABC shall be automatically rejected at the bid opening. Next is the CAAP invites bids for the above procurement project. Delivery of goods is required within 90 calendar days. Bidders should have completed within 5 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in section 2, ITB. Next is bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizens, sole proprietorships, partnerships, or organization with at least 60% interest of or outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines and to citizens or organizations of a country, the laws or regulation of which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA 5183. Next, prospective bidders may obtain further information from the BAC Secretariat of CAAP at Mir Road, Pasay City, and inspect the bidding document at the address given below during the office hours from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, from Monday to Friday, except declared holidays, weekends, and suspension of work. A complete set of biddings may be acquired by interested bidders on 26 April 2022, that was 2 weeks last week, until the deadline of submission of bids from the given address and websites below, and upon payment of the applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guidelines issued by the GPPB in the amount of 10,000 pesos. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through email. Bids must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission at the office address indicated below on or before May 17, 2022, not later than 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Please note that late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by a bid security in any of the acceptable forms and in the amount stated in the ITB Clause 14. Bid opening shall be on May 17, 2022 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the given address below and or via video conferencing Google Meet application. Bids will be open in the presence of the bidders' representatives who choose to attend the activity. The CAAP reserves the right to reject any and all bids, declare a failure of bidding, or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with the section 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 IRR of RA number 9184, without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. Invitation to bid. For further information, please refer to Engineer Leandro R. Varquez, overall head of BAC Secretariat, CAAP, at the address Mio Road, Pasay City, Metro Manila, telephone number 027944-2358. For downloading the bidding documents, you may visit also the following secured websites, fieldjets.gov.ph and caap.gov.ph. Instruction to bidders with corresponding BDS. Instruction to bidders. Number 1, scope of bid. The procuring entity, CAAP, wishes to receive bids for the supply and delivery of ANS emergency radio communication and power systems with identification number 22-005-04. The procurement project referred to herein as project is composed of one lot, the details of which are described in the section 7 of the technical specification. Number 2, funding information. The GOP through the source of funding as indicated below for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of 8,050,000 pesos. The source of funding is the corporate operating budget. Number 3 of the ITB, bidding requirements. The bidding for the project shall be governed by all the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 revised implementation rules and regulation, including its generic procurement manuals and associated policies, rules, and regulations as the primary source thereof, while the herein clauses shall serve as a secondary source thereof. Any amendments made to the IRR and other GPPB issuance shall be applicable only to the ongoing posting, advertisements, or IB by the BAC through the issuance of a supplemental or bid bulletin. The bidder, by the act of submitting its bid, shall be deemed to have verified and accepted the general requirements of this project, including other factors that may affect the cost, duration, and execution or implementation of the contract, project, or work, and examine all instruction forms, terms, and project requirements in the bidding documents. Instruction to bidders. Number 4, corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, and coercive practices. The procuring entity, as well as the bidders and suppliers, shall observe the highest standards of ethics during the procurement and execution of the contract. They, or through an agent, shall not engage in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, coercive, and obstructive practices defined under Annex I of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 or other integrity violation in competing for the project. Number 5, eligible bidders. Sub-item 5.1, only bids of bidders found to be legally, technically, and financially capable will be evaluated. Sub-item 5.2, foreign ownership limited to those allowed under the rules may participate in this project. Sub-item 5.3, pursuant to section 23.4.1.3 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184, the bidder shall have an SLCC that is at least one contract similar to the project value of which adjusted to current prices using the PSA CPI must be at least equivalent to at least 50% of the ABC. Indicated for this particular sub-item indicated on the BDS, contracts similar to the project shall be, letter A, supply and delivery of radio communication equipment system, and letter B, completed within 5 years prior to the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. Sub-item 5.4 under the eligible bidders, the bidder shall comply with the eligibility criteria under section 23.4.1 of the 2016 IRR of RA 9184. Then, number 6, origin of goods. There is no restrictions on the origin of goods other than those prohibited by the decision of the United Nations Security Council taken under Chapter 7 of the Charter of the UN, subject to domestic preference requirements under ITB Clause 18. Number 7 of ITB, subcontracts. The bidder may subcontract portion of the project to the extent allowed by the procuring entity as is stated herein, but in no case more than 20% of the project. The procuring entity has prescribed the subcontracting is not allowed. There's no further instruction for this in the bid data sheet. Number 8, pre-bid conference. I'm going to skip this one. This is the meeting we are engaged now. Number 9, clarification and amendments of bidding documents. Prospective bidders may request for clarification on and or interpretation of any part of the bidding documents. Such requests must be in writing and received by the procuring entity, either at its given address or through electronic mail indicated in the IB, at least 10 calendar days before the deadline set for the submission and receipt of bids. Number 10, documents comprising the bid, eligibility, and technical components. The first envelope shall contain the eligibility and technical documents of the bid as specified in Section 8, checklist of technical and financial documents. Sub-item 10.2, the bidder SLCC as indicated in ITB Clause 5.3 should have been completed within 3 years prior to the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. Sub-item 10.3, if the eligibility requirements or statement, the bids and all other documents for submission to the BAC are in foreign language other than English, it must be accompanied by a translation in English, which shall be authenticated by the appropriate Philippine Foreign Service establishments, POS, or the equivalent office having jurisdiction over the foreign bidders' affairs in the Philippines. Similar to the required authentication above, for contracting parties to the Apostille Convention, only the translated documents shall be authenticated through the apostille pursuant to GPPB Resolution Number 13-2019, dated 23 May 2019. The English translation shall govern the purposes of interpretation of the bid. Number 11, documents comprising the bid, financial component. Sub-item 11.1, the second bid envelope shall contain the financial document for the bid as specified in Section 8, checklist of technical and financial documents. Sub-item 11.2, if the bidder claims preference as a domestic bidder or domestic entity, a certification issued by DTI shall be provided by the bidder in accordance with Section 43.1.3 of the 2016 revised RR of RA 9184. Sub-item 11.3, any bid exceeding the ABC indicated in paragraph 1 of the IB shall not be accepted. Sub-item 11.4, for the foreign funded procurement, a ceiling may be applied to bid prices provided the conditions are met under Section 31.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Number 12, bid prices. Prices indicated on the prices schedule shall be entered separately in the following manner. Letter A, for goods offered from within the procuring entity's country. I, the price of goods quoted EXW, X work, X factory, X warehouse, X showroom, or off the shelf as applicable. The cost of all custom duties and sales and other taxes already paid or payable. For this item number 12, bid prices, indicated in the bid data sheets, the price of the goods shall be quoted DDP, CAAP, Mia Road, Pasay City, or the applicable international commercial terms, Incoterms for this project. The third one, the cost of transportation, insurance, and other costs incidental to delivery of the goods to their final destination. And the last one, the price of other incidental services, if any, listed in the PDS. Item B, for goods offered from abroad, unless otherwise stated in the PDS, the price of the goods shall be quoted delivered duty paid, DDP, with the place of destination in the Philippines as specified in the PDS. In quoting the price, the bidder shall be free to use transportation through carriers registered in any eligible country. Similarly, the bidder may obtain insurance services from any eligible source country. Last one is the price of other incidental services, if any, as listed in the PDS. Number 13, bid and payment currencies. For goods that the bidder, 13.1, sub-item 13.1, for goods that the bidder will supply from outside the Philippines, the bid prices may be quoted in the local currency or tradable currency accepted by the BSP at the discretion of the bidder. However, for the purposes of bid evaluation, bids denominated in foreign currencies shall be converted to Philippine currency based on the exchange rate as published in the BSP reference rate bulletin on the day of the bid opening. Sub-item 13.2, payment of the contract price shall be made in the Philippine pesos. Item number 14, bid security. Sub-item 14.1, the bidder shall submit a bid securing declaration or any form of bid security in the amount indicated in the BDS, which shall not less than the percentage of the ABC in accordance with the schedule in the PDS. Corresponding bid data sheet for this, sub-item 14.1, the bid security shall be in the form of bid securing declaration or any of the following forms and amounts. Letter A, the amount of not less than 161,000 pesos, which is equivalent to 2% of the ABC. If bid security is in cash, cashier manager check, bank draft guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit. Or letter B, the amount of not less than 402,500 pesos, which is equivalent to 5% of the ABC bid security, is in surety bond. Sub-item 14.2, the bid and bid security shall be valid until 120 calendar days. Any bid not accompanied by an acceptable bid security shall be rejected by the procuring entity as non-responsive. Item 15, sealing and marking of bids. Each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second component of each bids. The procuring entity may request additional hard copies and or electronic copies of the bid. However, failure of the bidders to comply with the said request shall not be a ground for disqualification. If the procuring entity allows the submission of bids through online submission or any other electronic means, the bidder shall submit an electronic copy of its bid, which must be digitally signed. An electronic copy that cannot be opened or is corrupted shall be considered non-responsive and thus automatically disqualified. Corresponding to the indicating the bid data sheet for this item 15, sealing and marking of bids. Number 1, each and every page thereof shall be initiated by the duly authorized representative of the bidder. Submitted eligibility, technical, and financial documents shall be properly marked with an index tabs, ear tabs, and must be sequentially paginated in an accurate order in the form of page 3 of 100 up to the last page 100 of 100. Pagination shall be sequential all throughout the documents inside the envelope. Bids not complying with the above instructions shall be automatically disqualified. Number 2, each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second component of each bid. Under the ITB number 16, deadline for submission of bids, the bidder shall submit on the specified date and time, and either at its physical address or through online submission as indicated in paragraph 7 of the instructions to bidders. Number 17, opening and preliminary examination of bids. Sub-item 17.1, the BAC shall open the bids in public at the time, on the date, and at the place specified in paragraph 9 of the IB. The bidders' representatives who are present shall sign a register evidencing their attendance. In case video conferencing, webcasting, or other similar technologies will be used, attendance of participants shall likewise be recorded by the BAC Secretariat. In case the bids cannot be opened as scheduled due to justifiable reasons, the rescheduling requirements under Section 29 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 shall prevail. Sub-item 17.2, the preliminary examination of bids shall be governed by Section 30 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Number 18, under the instructions to bidders, domestic preference. The procuring entity will grant margin of preference for the purpose of comparison of bids in accordance with Section 43.1.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Instructions to bidders. Number 19, detailed evaluation and comparison of bids. Sub-item 19.1, the procuring entities, BAC, shall immediately conduct a detailed evaluation of all bids rated pass using a non-discretionary pass-fail criteria. The BAC shall consider the condition in the evaluation of bids under Section 32.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Sub-item 19.2, if the project allows partial bids, bidders may submit a proposal on any of the lots or items. An evaluation be undertaken as on a per lot or item basis as the case may be. In this case, the bid security as required by ITB Clause 14 shall be submitted for each lot item separately. Sub-item 19.3, the descriptions of the lots or items shall be indicated in Section 7 technical specification. For this 19.3, indicated in the bid data sheets are as follows. Partial bid is not allowed. The goods are grouped in a single lot and the lots shall not be divided into sublots for the purpose of bidding, evaluation, and contract award. Under 19, detailed evaluation and comparison of bids, 19.4, sub-item 19.4, the project shall be awarded as one project having several items that shall be awarded as one contract. 19.5, except for bidders submitting committed line of credit from a universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation, all bids must include the NFCC computation pursuant to Section 23.4.1.4 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184, which must be sufficient for the total of the ABCs for all the lots or items participated in by the prospective bidders. For bidders submitting the committed line of credit, it must be at least equal to 10% of the ABC of all the lots or items participated in by the prospective bidder. Item number 20, post qualification. Within a non-extendable period of 5 calendar days from receipt by the bidder of the notice from the BAC that it submitted the lowest calculated bid, the bidder shall submit its latest income and business tax returns filed and paid through the BIR Electronic Filing and Payment System, EFPS, and other appropriate licenses and permits required by the law and stated in the PTS. Corresponding bid, corresponding item for this item in the bid data sheet, NTC permit to purchase and radio station license. Instructions to bidders, number 21, signing of the contract. The documents required in Section 37.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 shall form part of the contract. Additional contract documents are indicated in the PTS. On the bid data sheets, letter A, certificate from manufacturer or principal as authorized distributor of the radio communication equipment system offered. Letter B, per CAAP memorandum dated 17 September 2018. Disqualification of prospective bidders with pending case against the government in the procurement activities of the CAAP. All prospective bidders shall be required to submit the following. Number 1, a certification under oath attesting that they have no pending cases against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidders as prescribed under the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. And number 2, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP enforcement and legal service with respect to the non-pendency of any cases of prospective bidders against the authority. This is the illustration for the bid data sheet. The financial component and the technical eligibility components shall be placed in a separate envelope. Both shall be properly signed and sealed, and shall be placed inside the main envelope, which also should be sealed and signed. This is a classic example of the table of content and the index tab, and also the pagination. Here we have page 1 of 75 until and so on and so forth up to the last page, page 75 of 75. General conditions of the contract with the corresponding SCC, special conditions of the contract. General conditions of the contract. Number 1, scope of the contract. Scope of the contract. This contract shall include all such items, although not specifically mentioned, that can be reasonably inferred as being required for its completion, as if such items were expressly mentioned herein. All the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 IRR, including the generic procurement manual and associated issuance, constitute the primary sources of the terms and conditions of the contract, and thus applicable in contract implementation. Herein, clauses shall serve as the secondary source for the terms and conditions of the contract. Special conditions for this are as follows: the delivery and documents. For the purpose of the contract, EXW, FOB, FCA, CIF, CIP, DDP, and other trade terms used to describe the obligation of the parties shall have the meanings assigned to them by the current editions of Incoterms published by the International Chamber of Commerce, Paris. The delivery terms of this contract shall be as follows. The delivery terms applicable to the contract are DDP, delivered to CAAP, Mir Road, Pasay City, in accordance with Incoterms. The delivery terms applicable to the contracts are delivered to CAAP, Mir Road, Pasay City. Risk and title will pass from the supplier to the procuring entity upon receipt and final acceptance of the goods at their final destination. Delivery of the goods shall be made by the suppliers in accordance with the terms specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements. For the purposes of this clause, the procuring entity's representative at the project site is Engineer Ernesto Tigagtan Jr. Under special condition, the incidental services, the supplier is required to provide all of the following services, including additional services, if any specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirement. Letter A, performance or supervision of on-site assembly and or startup of the supplied goods. Letter B, furnishing of a detailed operation and maintenance manual for each appropriate unit of the supplied goods. Letter C, performance or supervision or maintenance and or repair of the supplied goods for a period time agreed by the parties, provided that this service shall not relieve the supplier of any warranty obligation under this contract. And letter D, training of the procuring entity's personnel at the supplier's plant and or on-site in assembly, startup, operations, maintenance, and or repair of the supplier goods. Letter E, application of permit to purchase and registration licenses with NTC in coordination with the procuring entity. The contract price for the goods shall include the prices charged by the supplier for incidental services and shall not exceed the prevailing rate charged to other parties by the supplier for similar services. Still under the special condition is the spare parts. The supplier is required to provide all of the following materials: notification and information pertaining to spare parts manufactured or distributed by the supplier. Letter A, such spare parts as the procuring entity may elect to purchase from the supplier, provided that the election shall not relieve the supplier of any warranty obligations under this contract. And letter B, In the event of termination of the production of the spare parts, I advance notification of the procuring entity of the pending termination in sufficient time to permit the procuring entity to procuring needed requirements, and following such termination, furnishing at no cost to the procuring entity the blueprints, drawings, and specifications of the spare parts if requested. The spare parts and other components required are listed in Section 6 Schedule of Requirements, and the costs thereof are included in the contract price. The supplier shall carry sufficient inventories to assure excess stock supply of consumable spare parts or components for the goods for a period of 3 years. Spare parts or components shall be supplied as promptly as possible, but in any case within 3 months of placing the order. Still under the special conditions, the packaging. The supplier shall provide such packaging of the goods as is required to prevent their damage or deterioration during transit to their final destination, as indicated in this contract. The packaging shall be sufficient to withstand without limitation rough and handling during transit and exposure to extreme temperatures, salt and precipitations during transit, and open storage. Packaging case size and weight shall take into consideration, where appropriate, the remoteness of the goods' final destination and the absence of heavy handling facilities at all points in transit. The packaging marking and documentation within the outside of the packages shall comply strictly with such special requirements as shall be expressly provided for in the contract, including additional requirements, if any, specified below and in any subsequent instruction ordered by the procuring entity. The outer packaging must be clearly marked on at least 4 sides as follows: name of the procuring entity, name of the supplier, contract description, final destination, gross weight, any special lifting instruction, any special handling instruction, and any relevant HASHChem classification, hazardous chemicals. A packaging list identifying the contents and quantities of the package is to be placed on an accessible point of the outer packaging if practical. If not practical, the packaging list is to be placed inside the outer packaging but outside the secondary packaging. Still under the special condition, the transportation, where the supplier is required under contract to deliver the goods, CIF, CIP, or DDP, transport of the goods to the port of destination or such other named place of destination in the Philippines, as shall be specified in the contract, shall be arranged and paid by the supplier, and the cost thereof shall be included in the contract price. Where the supplier is required under the contract to transport the goods to a specified place or destination within the Philippines, defined as the project site, transport to such place or destination in the Philippines, including insurance and storage, as shall be specified in the contract, shall be arranged by the supplier, and related costs shall be included in the contract price. Where the supplier is required under contract to deliver the goods, CIF, CIP, or DDP goods are to be transported on carriers of Philippine registry. In the event that no carrier of Philippine registry is available, goods may be shipped by a carrier which is not of Philippine registry, provided the supplier obtains and presents to the procuring entity certification to this effect from the nearest Philippine consulate to the port of dispatch. In the event that the carriers of the Philippine registry are available but their schedule delays the supplier in its performance of these contracts, the period from when the goods were first ready for shipment and the actual date of shipment, the period of delay will be considered force majeure. The procuring entity accepts no liability for the damage of goods during transit other than those prescribed by Incoterms for DDP deliveries. In the case of goods supplied from within the Philippines or supplied by the domestic suppliers, risk and title will not be deemed to have passed to the procuring entity until their receipt and final acceptance at the final destination. The intellectual property rights, the supplier shall indemnify the procuring entity against all third-party claims or infringement or patent trademark, or industrial design rights arising from use of the goods or any part thereof. Okay. Under the general condition of the contract, number 2, advance payment and terms payment. Sub-item 2.1, advance payment of the contract amount is provided under Annex D of the revised 2016 IRR RE 9184. Then sub-item 2.2, the procuring entity is allowed to determine the terms of payment on the partial or staggered delivery of the goods procured, provided such partial payments shall correspond to the value of the goods delivered and accepted in accordance with the prevailing accounting and auditing rules and regulations. The terms of payments are indicated in the SCC. Under general condition of the contract, number 3, performance security within 10 calendar days from receipt of the notice of award by the bidder from the procuring entity, but in no case later than the signing of the contract by both parties. The successful bidder shall furnish the performance security in any of the forms described in Section 39 of the 2016 IRR of RE 9184. Number 4, under the GCC, inspection of tests. The procuring entity or its representative shall have the right to inspect and or to test the goods to confirm their conformity to the project specification at no extra cost to the procuring entity in accordance with the General Procurement Manual. In addition to tests in the SAC Section 7 technical specifications shall specify that the inspection or test the procuring entity requires and where they are to be conducted. The procuring entity shall notify the supplier in writing in a timely manner of the identity of any representatives retained for these purposes. Special condition for this, the inspection and tests that will be conducted are letter A, physical inspection of the goods, and letter B, operational test of the equipment in accordance with the CAAP technical specification and equipment manual. Number 5, under the GCC, warranty. Sub-item 5.1, in order to assure that manufacturing defects shall be corrected by the supplier, a warranty shall be required from the supplier as provided under Section 62 of 2016 revised RRR of RA 9184. And then sub-item 5.2, the procuring entity shall promptly notify the supplier in writing of any claims arising under this warranty. Upon receipt of such notice, the supplier shall repair or replace the defective goods or parts thereof without cost to the procuring entity pursuant to the General Procurement Manual. And for number 6, the liability of the supplier's liability under this contract shall be as provided by the laws of the Republic of the Philippines. If the supplier is a joint venture, all partners to this joint venture shall be jointly and severally liable to the procuring entity. Schedule of requirements. Following are the schedule of requirements. Item number 1. The description is the ANS Emergency Radio Communication and Power Systems consisting of the following. For this, the quantity is 10 sets, total of 10 sets. Then delivered weeks, months should be 90 calendar days. Okay. Consisting of the following. The HF mobile point-to-point communication, specification mobile HF transceiver 125 watts, 1.6 to 29.999 megahertz, 13.8 VDC, negative brown, complete with the standard accessories. One set, total of 10 sets. HF system 2 to 30 megahertz, 50 ohms with 30 meters RG518U coaxial cable assembly and balloon, 10 sets. HF antenna tuner, 10 units. Switch mode regulated DC power supply, 13.8 volt DC, 30 amperes, 10 units. BHF mobile air-to-ground communication. Specs are as follows. Mobile BHF AM transceivers, 9 watts, 118 to 36.975 megahertz, 13.8 volts DC, complete with standard accessories, 20 sets. VHF omnidirectional airband antenna, 50 ohms with 20 meters RG8U or RG-213 coaxial cable assembly, 20 units. Switch mode regulated DC power supply, 13.8 volt DC, 15 amperes, 20 units. Then VHF mobile ground communication specs are as follows. VHF FM handheld transceivers, 5 watts, 136 to 174 megahertz with standard accessories, 50 sets total. Mobile VHF FM transceiver, 25 watts, 136 to 174 megahertz, 13.8 volts DC, complete with standard accessories, total of 10 sets. And VHF omnidirectional antenna, 136 to 174 megahertz, 50 ohms with 20 meters RG8U or RG213 coaxial cable assembly, total of 10 units. Then switch mode regulated DC power supply, 13.8 volt DC, 15 amperes maximum, total of 10 units. Then the accessories for your radio communications, rugged transport case customized, total of 20 units. Portable solar power generator, emergency portable solar power generators rated at 1 kilowatts, 10 sets. Then 200 watts monocrystalline silicon solar panels with built-in PWM, total of 20 units. Nothing follows. Then for the checklist, technical component envelope, Class A documents, the legal documents. Letter A, valid FELJEPS registration certificate, platinum membership, all pages in accordance with section 85.2, or registration certificate from the Security and Exchange Commission, Department of Trade, Industry, or sole proprietorship or cooperative development authority for cooperatives or its equivalent document. And letter C, mayor's or business permit issued by the city or municipality where the principal place of businesses or business of the prospective bidders is located, or the equivalent document for exclusive economic zones or areas. And for letter D, tax clearance per Executive Order number 398, series of 2005, as finally reviewed and approved by the BIR. For the technical documents, letter E, statement of the prospective bidders of all its ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract to be bid. And letter C, statement of the bidder's single largest completed contract, SLCC, similar to the contract to be bid, except under conditions provided for in sections 23.4.1.3 and 23.4.2.4 of the 2016 IRR of RA 9184 within the relevant period as provided in the bidding documents. And letter D, original copy of the bid security, if in the form of security bond, submit also a certification of issued by the insurance commissions, or original copy of notarized bid securing declaration. And letter A, conformity with the technical specifications, which may include production, delivery schedule, manpower requirements, and or after sales parts if applicable. And letter F, original duly signed omnibus sworn statement, and if applicable, original notarized secretary's certificate in case of a corporation, partnership, or cooperative, or original special power of attorney of all members of the joint venture, giving full power and authority to its officers to sign the OSS and do acts to represent the bidder. Letter G, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP enforcement and legal service with respect to the non-pendency of any case of prospective bidders against the authority. Letter H, certification under oath, attesting that they have no pending cases against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidders as prescribed in RA 9184. For the financial document, the prospective bidders' computation of net financial contracting capacity in FCCC or a committed line of credit from its universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation. For the Class B documents, letter J, if applicable, a duly signed joint venture agreement, JVA, in case the joint venture is already in existence, or duly notarized statement from all the potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the JVA in the instant that the bid is successful. Other documentary requirements under RA 9184 as applicable, for foreign bidders claiming by reasons of the country's extension of reciprocal rights to Filipinos, certification from the relevant government office of their country stating that the Filipinos are allowed to participate in the government procurement activities for the same item or product, and certification from the DTI if the bidder claims preference as a domestic bidder or domestic entity. Financial component envelope, original or duly signed and accomplished financial bid forms, and original or duly signed and accomplished price schedule. That ends my presentation. We'll proceed to the open discussion and clarification from the prospective bidders. Thank you.
Question, sir, question.
Go ahead, sir. Sir, before you proceed with your question, sir, can you state your name, the company you represent po for these purposes?
Good afternoon po. From Wireless Technologies Inc., Alexis Reyes. Question ko lang about sa NTC license and the RSL is included in the all radio equipment kasali po. Ito, tama, sir? The NTC license.
Mr. Chair, may we request the Mr. Chair to reply to the query of the prospective bidder, sir?
Sir, can you repeat your question?
Yes, sir. The NTC license and the RSL is included, tama, sir, sa project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, kasi pag ina-apply kasi yung RSL at saka NTC license, naghahanap si NTC ng operator's permit. So, kasali din po ba yung operator's permit dun sa project? Yung mismong license po ng mga operators, sir.
Yung mga gagamit, sir.
Yes, sir.
Opo. In that case po, sir, the NTC recognizes the licenses of our air traffic management officers as equivalent to the operator's license ng mga amateur o ng mga hobbyist. So, nagawa na namin ito, sir, dati when we applied for the radio station license of NAIA Control Tower.
Okay, sir. Pag i-request na lang namin yung copy yung mga license ng mga operator in case na i-apply na yung mga LTC permits. Tama, sir?
Okay, sir. Noted, sir.
Lang po, sir. Salamat po.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Hello. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, can you state your name and the company you represent, sir, before raising your questions or queries, sir?
Yes, sir. No problem. I'm JP Ordiliano from One Commerce International Corporation. I would like to ask, with regards to the technical specifications of the of this bid, the technical specifications presented, is this the minimum specifications or do we need to is it okay to offer a better or a higher model for those radios?
Mr. Chair, may we request again the end user, sir, to respond to the query or concern of the prospective bidder, sir?
Hi, sir. It's okay if you can offer a better equipment with better specifications than the ones stated in the technical specifications.
Yeah. That is noted, sir. And next question, until when is the time deadline for the submission of clarifications through letter?
Sir, if I may respond to that, Mr. Chair, the prospective bidder, sir, may send written queries or clarification 10 days before the opening of the bid, sir. So that is in accordance with the GPPB rules and uh, also with the IRR of 9184, sir.
Um, got it, sir. That's for one commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, One Commerce. Are there any other questions from our prospective bidders? If there are none, so to all our prospective bidders, including those who will be watching this or who are watching this via YouTube or who will see this recording later on, you still have 10 calendar days before the opening of bids to submit any clarification or queries in relation to this particular project. Mr. Chair, with that, we are the technical working group is recommending to close this item and proceed with the next item, Mr. Chair. Sir Arnold, we cannot hear you po, sir.
Okay, thank you, TWG. Sorry. Secretary, what is the next agenda?
Thank you, sir. The next item is again for the preventive service of building management system (BMS) at Air Traffic Management Center. The bid number for this is bid 22007004 Alpha, and the ABC of this project is 2,178,800 pesos, and this is an ANS project, Mr. Chair. The technical working group of ANS is prepared to present the bid conference document. Secretariat, may we request for the admission of our respective leaders in the room?
For a moment, Attorney.
Yes, sir.
This is a second bidding, I suppose. This is a rebidding.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. To the end user, did you make any changes on this on the document?
Yes, sir. We did made several changes to the previous bid documents. That's why we resubmitted it as a new bidding document.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So since this is considered as new document, so PWG, you may proceed for the presentation. And Attorney, we have some
To the chair.
Go ahead, Secretariat.
Before we, the end user or the TWG proceed po sa presentation of the for the participating bid for this project po, to introduce yourself and the company you are representing. Thank you.
To all the leaders online, sir. Go ahead, sir, Philip.
Yes, good afternoon, sirs and ma'am. I'm Philip Marvin Aven from Industrial Controls Corporation.
Any other bidders? So, hearing none, Mr. Chair, the TWG would like now to proceed with the presentation of the pre-bidding conference. Engineer Moises Acupon will present the the project, Mr. Chair. Go ahead, Engineer Sakapot, please.
Okay, good afternoon, bidders. Welcome to the pre-bid conference for the preventive maintenance, servicing of building management systems at the Philippine Air Traffic Management Center with bid number 22-007-04 Alpha, dated today, May 4, 2022, 2 p.m. So, welcome. So, this is the outline: invitation to bid, instruction to bidders with corresponding bid datasheet or BDS, general conditions of the contract with corresponding special conditions of the contract, checklist, discussion, and clarifications with the bidders. So here the invitation to bid. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, through the CAAP Corporate Operating Budget for fiscal year 2022, intends to apply the total sum of 2,178,800 pesos, being the approved budget for the contract, to payment under the contract for the preventive maintenance servicing of building management systems at Philippine Air Traffic Management Center with CAAP Project ID 22-007-04. Here we have the subsystem description. Item 1, we have the fire detection and alarm system and FM 200 fire suppression system. Item number 2, we have the closed circuit television system or CCTV. Item 3, we have the electronic door lock intrusion detection system. Item number 4, we have the public address system. And number 5, we have the building management system, power management system. And the last is item 6, local area network or LAN. Bids received with excess of the ABC shall be automatically rejected at bid opening. CAAP now invites bids for the above procurement project. Delivery of service is required semi-annually for a period of 1 year. Bidders shall have completed within 5 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids, contracts similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2, Instruction to Bidders. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations of the Public Act 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizens, sole proprietorship partnerships, or organizations with at least 60% interest or outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines and to citizens or organizations of a country, the laws and regulations of which grant similar rights or privileges to the Filipino citizens pursuant to RA 5183. Prospective bidders may obtain further information from CAAP and inspect the bidding documents at the address given during office hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday except declared holidays, weekends, and suspension of work. Complete set of bidding documents will be acquired on 26 April 2022 until deadline of submission of bids from Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, BAC Office, Mia Road, Pasay City, and upon payment of the applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guidelines issued by the GPBB in the amount of 5,000 pesos. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through the ink. Bids must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission at the office address given on or before 17 May 2022 at 2 p.m. Late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by bid security in any of the acceptable forms and in the amount stated in the ITB Clause 14. Bids opening shall be on 17 May 2022 p.m. at Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines back office either via online conference to Google Meet. Bids will be open in the presence of the bidder's representative who choose to attend the activity. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines reserves the right to reject any and all bids declared a failure of bidding or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with Section 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. You may visit the following website for downloading the bidding documents as mentioned. For further information, please refer to Engineer Leandro Marquez, Overhaul Head BAC Secretariat, with telephone number 7-944-2358. Instruction to bidders with corresponding bid data sheet. So instruction to bidders. So this scope of bid, the procuring entity CAAP wishes to receive bids for the preventive maintenance servicing of building management system at the Philippine Air Traffic Management Center with identification number 22-007-04 as mentioned or stated in the bid documents. Funding information.
Excuse Moises, nag-i-echo yung ano mo. Yung...
Man, pakikuha mo naman. Silence. So, bidding, funding information. Man, okay, yung hilaan lang. The GOP to the source of funding as indicated below for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of 2,178,800. The source of funding is the corporate operating budget. Bidding requirements. The bidding for the project shall be governed by all the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 revised IRR, including its generic procurement manuals and associated policies, rules, and regulations as the primary source thereof, while herein clauses shall serve as the secondary source thereof. Any amendment made to the IRR and other DPPB issuances shall be applicable only to the ongoing posting, advertisement, or IB by the BAC through the issuance of a supplemental or bid bulletin. The bidder by the act of submitting his bid shall be deemed to have verified and accepted the general requirements of this project, including other factors that may affect the cost, duration, and execution or implementation of the contract project or work, and examine all instructions, forms, terms, and project requirements in the bidding document. Corrupt and fraudulent, collusive and coercive practices. The procuring entity as well as the bidders and suppliers shall observe the highest standard of ethics during the procurement execution of the contract. They or through an agent shall not engage in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, coercive, and obstructive practices defined under Annex 1 of the 2016 revised IRR of Republic Act 9184 or other integrity violations in competing for the project. Eligible bidders. 5.1 only bidders found to be legally, technically, and financially capable will be evaluated. 5.2, we have foreign ownership limited to those allowed under the rules may participate in this project. For 5.3, pursuant to Section 23.4.1.3 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184, the bidder shall have an SLCC that is at least one contract similar to the project, the value of which is adjusted to current prices using the PSA CPI must be at least equivalent to. For the procurement of non-expendable supplies and services, the bidder must have completed a single contract that is similar to the project, equivalent to at least 50% of the ABC for this project. 5.4, the bidder shall comply with the eligibility criteria under the section 23.4.1 of the 2016 IRR of RA 9184. Origin of goods. There is no restriction in the origin of goods other than those prohibited by decision of the UN Security Council. So here, in the bid data sheet under 5.3, for this purpose, contract similar to the project shall be A. Preventive maintenance, servicing a building management system. B. Completed within 5 years prior to the deadline of the submission and receipt of bids. Number 7, under instruction to bidders, subcontracts. The bidder may subcontract portions of the project to the extent allowed by the procuring entity, as stated therein, but in no case more than 20% of the project. So, under the bid data sheet, no further instructions. Number 8, pre-bid conference. That's what we're doing today. Clarification and amending the bid documents. Number 10, documents comprising the bid eligibility and technical components. So it is also mentioned in the bid data sheets, in the bid documents also, in the bid documents, not bid data sheet. 12, we have the bid prices. So under the bid prices, in the bid data sheets, we have the price of the goods shall be quoted DDP, CAAP, BRO plus ACT, or the applicable international commercial terms, in terms for this project. For 13, bid and payment and currencies. For goods that the bidder will supply from outside the Philippines, the bid prices may quoted. Okay, but this is servicing, preventive maintenance. For bid security, the bidder shall submit a bid securing declaration or any form of bid security in the amount indicated in the bid data sheet, which shall not less than the percentage of the ABC in accordance with the schedule in the bid data sheet. So under the bid data sheets 14.1, we have the bid security shall be in the form of bid securing declaration or any of the following forms and amounts. The amount of not less than 43,576, which is equivalent to 2% of the ABC, if bid security is in cash, cashier's, manager's check, bank draft, guarantee, or a revocable letter of credit. Or B, the amount of not less than 108,940, which is equivalent to 5% of the ABC if bid security is in the form of surety bond. So for 15, instruction to bidder, sealing and marking of bids. So in the bid data sheet, we have under the 15.1, we have number 1, each and every page thereof shall be initialed by the duly authorized representative of the bidder. Submitted eligibility, technical and financial documents shall be properly marked with index tabs or ear tabs and must be sequentially paginated in accurate order in the form such that page 3 of 100. Pagination shall be sequentially all throughout the documents inside the envelope. Bids not complying with the above instructions shall be automatically disqualified. Each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second components of its bid. So this is the flow or block diagram. We have the main envelope. Under or inside the main envelope, we have the two components. The first component is the technical and eligibility envelope. And then the second component is the financial component. Here is the illustrations or example of the table of contents. And then the index tab. So it's multicolored as typical example. And also under the page, it is paginated with the sign by the bidder's representative or authorized representative. Each page must be also paginated from page, for example, from page 1 of 75, and then the last page must be page 75 of 75. And then 19.3, under instructions to bidders, we have the description of the lots of items shall be indicated in section 7, technical specifications. So, on the bid data sheets, we have partial bids is not allowed. That the goods are grouped in a single lot and the lot shall not be divided into sublots for the purpose of bidding, the evaluation, and contract award. Post qualification, the further instructions. For instruction to bidders, item 21, signing of the contracts. The document required in section 37.2 of the 2016 revised RA 9184 shall form part of the contract. Additional contract documents are indicated in the bid data sheets. Therefore, under the bid data sheets, we have 21.2, a certificate of site inspection duly signed by the ANS facility in charge at Manila CNS ATM facility or its authorized representative. B. Per CAAP memorandum dated 17 September 2018 regarding disqualification of prospective bidders with pending case against the government in the procurement activities of the CAAP. All prospective bidders shall be required to submit the following. Number 1, you have to submit a certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case or cases against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidders as prescribed under the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. And number 2, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP, enforcement and legal services with respect to the non-pendency of any cases of prospective bidders against the authority. Post qualification, so it is also mentioned in the bid document. Then we have the conditions of the contract with corresponding special conditions of the contract. Scope of work. This contract shall include all such items, although not specifically mentioned, that can be reasonably inferred as being required for its completion as each such item were expressly mentioned herein. All the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 revised IRR, including the generic procurement manual and associated issuances, constitute the primary source for the terms and conditions of the contract and thus applicable in the contract implementation. Current clauses shall serve as the secondary source of the terms and conditions of the contract. This is without prejudice to section 74.1 74.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184, allowing the GPPB to amend the IRR, which shall be applied to all procurement activities. The advertisement, posting, or invitation of which were issued after the effectivity of the said amendment. So, the rest it is in the bid documents. While on special conditions for this particular project, delivery and documents. Delivery of the goods shall be made by the supplier in accordance with the terms specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements. For this purpose of this clause, the procuring entity's representative at the project site is Engineer Gilmar D. Tiro, ANS Facility in Charge, Manila CNS ATM Facility. Incidental services. The supplier is required to provide all of the following services, including additional services, if any, specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements. Furnishing of tools and equipment required for the maintenance. Next is under the general conditions of contract, we have Item 1, scope of contract. Item 2, advance payment and terms of payment. And then under Item 2, we have 2.2 highlighted. So for special condition 2.2, for this project, we have the terms of payment shall be as follows. First billing after the completion of the first semi-annual preventive maintenance. Second billing after the completion of the second semi-annual preventive maintenance. Performance, security, it's already stated in the bid documents, inspection and test. So no special conditions not applicable. Warranty. Then schedule of requirements. For the schedule of requirements, we have Item 1. It is enumerated as F- control panel. So it is all written from item number 1 to item number 5. Then technical specifications, we have following. Item 1, checking and testing of devices, equipment. Item 2, cleaning of devices, equipment. Adjustment, correction, and calibration of devices, equipment, if necessary. 4, troubleshooting, repair, and replacement of devices, equipment, if necessary. Provision and use of necessary testing equipment. Provide service reports, related documents, and recommendations. Frequency of preventive maintenance semi-annual with the prevention with the maintenance semi-annual with the first preventive maintenance to be conducted within 30 calendar days from the receipt of notice to proceed. So subsystem description, we have the item number 8, fire detection and alarm system, closed circuit television system, electronic door lock intrusion detection system, public address system, building management system, power management system, and local area network. For the checklist, we have technical components envelope. Under the technical components envelope, we have the legal documents, valid PDFs, registration certificate, registration of securities and exchange commission or DTI, mayor's permit, and then tax clearance per EO number 398/2005. And then under technical documents, we have the statement of the prospective bidders of all each ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature, and complexity for the contract to be bid. Statement of the bidder's single largest completed contract, or SLCC. Original copy of bids, security, if it is in the form of surety bond. Submit also certification issued by the Insurance Commission. The next is the original copy of notarized bid securing declaration. Conformity with the technical specifications, which may include production delivery schedule. manpower requirements, and or after sales parts, if applicable. So these are all items are mentioned in the bid documents for the bidders. And then for the financial documents, we have the prospective bidders, computation of net financial contracting capacity or NFCC, and then the if applicable, this is the Class B document, if applicable, a duly signed joint venture agreement when necessary. Next is the financial component envelope. We have the original or duly signed and accomplished financial bid forms, and original of duly signed and accomplished price schedules. So that's all for the pre-bid documents, and here we have the discussion, clarifications from the bidders. If you have some questions, you have the right to.
Okay, to the proponent, do you
Hello,
have
sir.
clarification or question?
Hello, sir. Sorry, later na lang po. Later.
The name is Saldi. Are you a proponent bidder for this project?
Sorry, sir. Later po. I'm not the proponent for this project. Later po for the...
Okay.
Yeah, later po, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, to the other possible bidder for the project, for the preventive maintenance servicing of building maintenance system of Philippine ATMC, do you have some question or clarification?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. During the...
Okay, Philip Marvin Hoben, please introduce yourself
Yes,
and the company you're representing.
Yes, I am Philip Marvin. I'm from Industrial Controls Corporation.
Okay.
So my question is regarding the procurement of the bid ducts.
Cutting out ka, Juben? Ano yan? Procurement of?
When we buy the bid ducts, are you going to provide bid ducts?
Yes, please clarify your question. Pakiulit mo.
Bid documents? Hello?
Cutting out ka kasi, pakiulit mo yung question mo.
Yung sa bid docs, sir,
ano yung question mo sa bid docs?
sir, naririnig na ba ako? Hindi pa rin.
Oh, ayan, okay, naririnig ka namin. Yung naririnig lang namin sa iyo, yung bid docs. Pero yung question mo, hindi namin marinig.
Yung pagbili po ng bid docs, sir, magpaprovide ba kayo ng soft copy or hard copy ng mga bid docs, including the sample forms?
I think Secretariat, could you answer that? For TWG.
As far as I know, sir, hard copy yung nabibili. And also we have...
may echo ka, Moses.
Hello.
Palit sa tayo na.
Hello. Secretary, could answer that because they are the ones who are giving the items to the prospective bidders.
Secretariat, please. Sino bang nandun sa Secretariat?
Secretariat.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yes, sir. I think, sir, I understand po, both hard copies and soft copies can be provided po by the secretariat upon request kung either doon yung mas prepared po. The secretariat kaya provide naman po.
Saan ba yun siya, no?
Yes, sir.
Is the proponent and did you answer?
No, sir.
Philip, nasapot namin yung tanong mo.
Yes, sir. So, ano lang, last time kasi we were not provided. So, it was unfair for us. That's why we were disqualified because some of the forms we used are not the required ones.
Secretariat, please clarify this one, yung query nila. Any other members of the Secretariat present to give more clarity on the query of our proponent? Okay, Philip, ganito. In the interest of time, no, I suggest you better make a formal inquiry later to be submitted within the allowed time so that we could reply officially on your query. Okay?
Okay, sir. Chairman, noted.
Okay, thank you. So,
thank you, sir.
Is there any other question? Hearing none, so again, Secretariat, please, for those who are watching this video or to YouTube, or who will be watching later, this presentation.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. For additional guidance to those interested bidders, stated in section 22.5.1 of the revised IRR, request for clarification on any part of the bidding documents or for the interpretation must be in writing and submitted to the back of the procuring entity at least 10 calendar days before the deadline set for the submission and receipt of bids. Then the BAC shall respond to the said request by issuing a supplemental bid bulletin duly signed by the to be made available to those who have properly secured the bidding docs at least 7 calendar days before the deadline for the submission and receipt bids.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the proponent, please take note on that announcement. Okay, so we have another project of finance. Hearing none, so please proceed with the agenda.
Yes, sir. Moving on to the next agenda is the project for preventive maintenance servicing of air conditioning system at Philippine Air Traffic Management Center with bid number 22-006-04 amounting to 1,520,000 pesos. This is an ANS project again, sir. May I request po the participating bidders for this project, sir, to introduce yourself and the company you are representing.
Hello, ma'am. This is Salvi Laksaman of Merbelu Enterprises Inc. Interested to bid on this project. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other okay, Julina.
Hello po, good afternoon. This is Julina Binamira from Rose Air Enterprise.
Please, okay, so we have two opponents, Salvi and Julina Binamira. Okay, so okay, at TWG, you can proceed for the presentation.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Please welcome to pre-bid conference for the project Preventive Maintenance Servicing of Air Conditioning System at Philippine Air Traffic Management Center. This is bid number 22-006-04 Alpha. The outline for this presentation are as follows. First, the invitation to bid, then followed by the instructions to bidders with corresponding BDS, general conditions of the contract with corresponding SCC, then the last one is the checklist, then after which we'll proceed to the open discussion and clarification from the prospective bidders. Invitation to bid. The CAAP, through the corporate operating budget for fiscal year 2022, intends to apply the total sum of 1,520,000 pesos being the approved budget for the contract, ABC, to payments under the contract for the preventive maintenance servicing of air conditioning system at Philippine ATMC. Thank you. With project ID number 22-006.04. The descriptions of the deliverables for this project are as follows. 5 locations. First, the Air Traffic Management Center, ATMC building. Item number 1, York Air Handling Units, Libert Precision Air Conditioning Units, or the PACU. York Fan Coil Units, cassette type. York Fan Coil Units, FCU, the duct mounted. York Exhaust Fans, York Smoke Extraction Fans, York Supply Fans. Then, for the power plant building, the York Chilled Power Pumps, York Fan Coil Units, cassette type. York Fan Coil Units, ceiling mounted. York Exhaust Fans, duct mounted. And the York Exhaust Fans, wall mounted. And for the security reception area, the York Split Air Conditioning Units, ACU, wall mounted. Then for the canteen building, York Split Air Conditioning Units, cassette type. York ACU, duct mounted. York Exhaust Fans, duct mounted. York Exhaust Fans, cassette type. And York Fans, wall mounted. And for the last one, for the chillers, the York chillers. Invitation to bid. The CAAP now invites bid for the above procurement project. Delivery of services is required monthly and quarterly for a period of 1 year. Bidders should have completed within 5 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2, Instructions to Bidders. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizens, sole proprietorships, partnerships, or organizations with at least 60% interest or outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines and to citizens or organizations of a country, the laws or regulations of which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA 9 number 5183. Prospective bidders may obtain further information from BAC Secretariat of CAAP at Mir Road, Pasay City, and inspect the bidding documents at the address given during office hours from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, Monday to Friday, except declared holidays, weekends, and suspension of work. A complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by interested bidders on 26 April 2022 until the deadline of the submission of bids from the given address and website below and upon payment of the applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guideline issued by the GPPB in the amount of 5,600 pesos, 12% VAT inclusive. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through email. Bids must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission at the office address given on or before May 17, 2022, not later than 2 p.m. Late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by a bid security in any of the acceptable forms and in the amount stated in the ITB Clause 14. Bid opening shall be on May 17, 2022 at 2 p.m. at the given address below and or via online conference through Google Meet. Bids will be open in the presence of the bidders' representatives who choose to attend the activity. The CAAP reserves the right to reject any and all bids, declare a failure bidding, or not award the contract at any time prior to the contract award in accordance with the Section 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 without thereby incurring any liabilities to the affected bidder or bidders. You may visit the following websites for downloading the bidding documents: www.piljeps.gov.ph, www.caap.gov.ph. For further information, please refer to Engineer Leandro R. Vargas, Overall Head, BAC Secretariat, Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, with address at Mir Road, Pasay City, Metro Manila, telephone number 027944-2358. Website is at www.caap.gov.ph. Instruction to bidders with corresponding bid data sheet, BDS. Instruction to bidders. Number 1, scope of bid. The procuring entity, CAAP, wishes to receive the bids for the preventive maintenance servicing of ACU system at Philippine ATMC with identification number 22-006.04 alpha. The procurement project, referred herein as project, is composed of 19 items, the details of which are described in Section 7 of the technical specification. Funding, number 2, the funding information. The GOP through the source of funding is as indicated below for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of 1,520,000 pesos. The source of funding is the corporate operating budget. Number 3, bidding requirements. The bidding for the project shall be governed by all the provisions of RA 9184 and its 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations, including its generic procurement manuals and associated policies, rules and regulations as the primary source thereof, while the herein clauses shall serve as the secondary source thereof. Any amendments made to the IRR and other GPPB issuance shall be applicable only to the ongoing posting, advertisement, or instructions to bidders by the BAC for the issuance of supplemental or bid bulletin. The bidder, by the act of submitting its bid, shall be deemed to have verified and accepted general requirements of this project, including other factors that may affect the cost, duration, and execution or implementation of the contract, project, or work, and examine all instruction, forms, terms, and project requirements in the bidding documents. Number 4, under the instructions to bidders, corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, and coercive practices. The procuring entity, as well as the bidders and suppliers, shall observe the highest standard of ethics during the procurement and execution of the contract. They or through an agent shall not engage in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, coercive, and obstructive practices defined under the Annex I of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 or other integrity violation in competing for the project. Number 5, eligible bidders. Sub-item 5.1, only bids of bidders found to be legally, technically, and financially capable will be evaluated. Sub-items 5.2, foreign ownership limited to those allowed under the rules may participate in this project. Sub-item 5.3, pursuant to section 23.4.1.3 of the 2016 revised IRR of the RA 9184, the bidder shall have an SLCC that is at least one contract similar to the project, the value of which, adjusted to current prices using the PSA CPI, must be at least equivalent to at least 50% of the ABC. Equivalent bid data sheet for this purpose, the contract similar to the project shall be letter A, preventive maintenance, servicing of air conditioning system, and letter B, completed within 5 years prior to the deadline of the submission and receipt of bids. For the eligible bidders, sub-item 5.4, the bidder shall comply with the eligibility criteria under section 23.4.1 of the 2016 IRR of RA number 9184. Number 6, ITB, origin of goods. There is no restrictions on the origin of goods other than those prohibited by a decision of the UN Security Council taken under Chapter 7 of the Charter of the UN, subject to domestic preference requirements under ITB Clause 18. Instructions to bidder, item number 7, subcontracts. The bidder may subcontract portions of the project to the extent allowed by the procuring entity as stated herein, but in no case more than 20% of the project. The procuring entity has prescribed that subcontracting is not allowed. No further instructions to this on the bid data sheet. Under the ITB number 8, item number 8, pre-bid conference. Okay, we're going to skip this one. Item number 9, clarification and amendment of bidding documents. Prospective bidders may request for clarification on and or interpretation of any part of the bidding documents. Such requests must be in writing and received by the procuring entity, either at its given address or through electronic mail indicated in the instruction to bidders, at least 10 calendar days before the deadline set for the submission and receipt of bids. Number 10, documents comprising the bid, eligibility, and technical components. Sub-item 10.1, the first envelope shall contain the eligibility and technical documents of the bid as specified in Section 8, checklist of technical and financial documents. For sub-item 10.2, the bidder's SLCC, as indicated in ITB Clause 5.3, should have been completed within 5 years prior to the deadline for the submission of receipt bids. Under sub-item 10.3, if the eligibility requirements or statement, the bids and all other documents for submissions to the BAC are in foreign language other than English, it must be accompanied by a translation in English, which shall be authenticated by the appropriate Philippine Foreign Service Establishment, POS, or. And for number 11, documents comprising the bid financial document, sub-item 11.1, the second bid envelope shall contain the financial documents for the bid as specified in Section 8, checklist of technical and financial document. Sub-item 11.2, if the bidder claims preference as a domestic bidder or domestic entity, a certification issued by the DTI shall be provided by the bidders in accordance with Section 43.1.3 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Sub-item 11.3, any bid exceeding the ABC indicated in paragraph 1 of the instruction to bidders shall not be accepted. 11.4, for foreign-funded procurement, a ceiling may be applied to bid prices provided the conditions are met under Section 31.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Instruction to bidders, item 12, the bid prices. Sub-item 12.1, prices indicated on the price schedule shall be entered separately in the following manner. Letter A, for goods offered from within the procuring entity's country, the price of the goods quoted EXW, X Works, X Factory, X Warehouse, X Showroom, or off the shelf as applicable. The second one is the cost of all item duties and sales and other taxes already paid or payable. Under this item, bid prices, the corresponding bid data sheet, the prices of the goods shall be quoted DP, CAAP, Miro, Pasay City, or the applicable international commercial terms, Incoterms for this project. The cost of transportation, insurance, and other costs incidental to the delivery of the goods to their final destinations, and the price of other incidental services, if any, listed in the BDS. For letter B, for the goods offered from abroad, unless otherwise stated in the BDS, the price of the goods shall be quoted delivered duty paid DDP with the place of destination in the Philippines as specified in the BDS. In quoting the price, the bidder shall be free to use transportation through carriers registered in eligible country. Similarly, the bidder may obtain insurance services from any eligible source country. And the second one, the price of other incidental services, if any, as listed in the BDS. Number 13, bid and payment currencies. Sub-item 13.1, for goods that the bidder will supply from the outside of the Philippines, the bid prices may be quoted in the local currency or tradable currency accepted by the BSP at the discretion of the bidder. However, for the purpose of bid evaluation, bids denominated in foreign currency shall be converted to Philippine currency based on the exchange rate as published in the BSP reference rate bulletin on the day of the bid opening. Then the second sub-item, payment of the contract price shall be made in Philippine pesos. Item 14, bid security. Sub-item 14.1, the bidder shall submit a bid securing declaration or any form of bid security in the amount indicated in the BDS, which shall not be less than the percentage of the ABC in accordance with the schedule in the BDS. 14.2, the bid and bid security shall be valid until 120 calendar days. Any bid not accompanied by an acceptable bid security shall be rejected by the procuring entity as non-responsive. Under the 14.1, the corresponding bid data sheet indicates that the bid security shall be in the form of bid securing declaration or any of the following forms and amounts. Letter A, the amount of not less than 30,400 pesos, which is equivalent to 2% of the ABC. If bid security is in cash, cashier's, manager's check, bank draft, guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit. Or, letter B, the amount of not less than 76,000 pesos, which is equivalent to 5% of the ABC if bid security is in surety bond. ITB item 15, sealing and markings of bids. Each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second components of its bid. The procuring entity may request additional hard copies or electronic copies of the bid. However, failure of the bidders to comply with the said request shall not be a ground for disqualification. If the procuring entity allows the submission of bids through the online submission or any other electronic means, the bidder shall submit an electronic copy of its bid, which must be digitally signed. An electronic copy that cannot be opened or is corrupted shall be considered non-responsive and thus automatically disqualified. Under this, in the bid data sheet, number 1, each and every page thereof shall be initiated by the duly authorized representative of the bidder. Submitted eligibility, technical, and financial documents shall be properly marked with index tabs and must be sequentially paginated in accurate order in the form of, example, page 3 of 100 until page 100 of 100. Pagination shall be sequential all throughout the document inside the envelope. Bids not complying with the above instruction shall be automatically disqualified. Number 2, each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second components of the bid. Number 19, detailed evaluation and comparisons of bids. 19.1, the procuring entity's BAC shall immediately conduct detailed evaluation of bids rated pass, of all bids rated pass, using non-discretionary pass-fail criteria. The BAC shall consider the conditions in the evaluation bids under Sections 32.2 of 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Sub-item 19.2, if the project allows partial bids, bidders may submit a proposal on any of the lots or items, and evaluations will be undertaken on a per lot or item basis, as the case may be. In this case, the bid security as required by ITB Clause 14 shall be submitted for each lot or item separately. Sub-item 19.3, the description of the lots or items shall be indicated in Section 7 of the technical specifications. Although the ABC of these lots or items are indicated in the BDS for the purpose of the FCC computation pursuant to Section 23.4.2.6 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Then NFCC must be sufficient for the total of the ABCs for all the lots or item participated in by the prospective bidder. Corresponding bid data sheet for this sub-item. Partial bid is not allowed. The goods are grouped in a single lot, and lots shall not be divided into sublots for the purpose of bidding, evaluation, and contract award. So 19.4, the project shall be awarded as one project having several items that shall be awarded as one contract. Except for bidders submitting a committed line of credit from Universal or Commercial Bank in lieu of the NFCC computation, all bids must include the NFCC computation pursuant to Section 23.4.1.4 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184, which must be sufficient for the total of the ABCs for all the lots or items participated in the prospectus by the prospective bidder. For bidders submitting the committed line of credit, it must be at least equal to 10% of the ABCs for all the lots or items participated in the prospective bidders. Item number 20, the post-qualification. Within a non-extendable period of 5 calendar days from the receipt of the bidder of the notice of the BAC, from the BAC that it submitted the lowest calculated bid, the bidder shall submit its latest income and business tax returns filed and paid through the BIR electronic filing and payment system and other appropriate licensing and permits required by law and stated in the BDS. Item 21, the signing of the contract. The documents required in Section 37.2 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 shall form part of the contract. Additional contract documents are indicated in the PDS. In the bid data sheets, letter A, certificate of site inspection duly signed by the ANS facility in charge, Manila CNS ATM facility and his authorized representative. Copy of valid PRC license ID of employed registered mechanical engineer, copies of NC2 certificate in refrigeration and air conditioning of maintenance technicians, copy of certificate of training in the maintenance of your chiller equipment. Letter E, per CAAP memorandum dated September 17, 2018, disqualification of prospective bidders with pending case against the government in the procurement activities of the CAAP. All prospective bidders shall be required to submit the following. Number 1, a certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidder as prescribed under the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. And number 2, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP enforcement and legal service with respect to the non-pendency of any case of prospective bidders against the authority. Illustration for the main and for the data sheets. The financial component and technical eligibility component must be placed in a separate envelope, properly signed and sealed, then must be placed in the main envelope, which should also be signed and properly sealed. So we have here the illustration for the table of contents, then the index tab, and examples of pagination. Here we have page 1 of 75 pages up to the last page 75 of 75 pages. General conditions of the contract with corresponding SCC. General condition of the contract, scope of number 1 is the scope of the contract. Special condition for this, first, the delivery and documents. Delivery of the goods shall be made by the supplier in accordance with the terms specified in section 6. For the purposes of this clause, the procuring entity's representative at the project site is Engineer Gilmar Tiro, ANS FIC, Manila CNS ATM facility. Then incidental services. The supplier is required to provide all the following services, including additional services, if any, specified in Section 7, Schedule requirements. Letter A, furnishing of tools and equipment required for the maintenance. Then for the spare parts, the supplier is required to provide all of the following materials, notification, and information pertaining to spare parts manufactured or distributed by the supplier. Number 1, such spare parts as the procuring entity may elect to purchase from the supplier, provided that this election shall not relieve the supplier of any warranty obligation under the contract. Number 2, in the event of termination of production of the spare parts, first, advance notification to the procuring entity of the pending termination in sufficient time to permit the procuring entity to procure needed requirements, and following such termination, furnishing at no cost to the procuring entity the blueprints, drawings, and specification of the spare parts if requested. General condition of the contract, item number 2, advance payment in terms of payment. 2.1, sub-item 2.1, advance payment of the contract amount is provided under Annex D of the revised 2016 IRR of RA 9184. Then sub-item 2.2, special condition for this, the terms of payment shall be as follows. Billing after completion of each scheduled preventive maintenance. Then item 3 of the GCC, performance security. Within 10 calendar days from receipt of the notice of award by the bidder from the procuring entity, but in no case later than the signing of the contract by both parties, the successful bidder shall furnish the performance security in any of the form prescribed in Section 39 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Number 4, inspection and tests. The procuring entity or its representative shall have the right to inspect and or to test the goods to confirm their conformity to the project specifications at no cost, extra cost, to the procuring entity in accordance with the generic procurement manual. In addition to tests in the SCC, Section 7 technical specifications shall specify what inspections and or tests the procuring entity requires and where they are to be conducted. The procuring entity shall notify the supplier in writing in a timely manner of the identity of any representatives retained for these purposes. All reasonable facilities and assistance for the inspection and testing of goods, including access to drawings and production data, shall be provided by the supplier to the authorized inspectors at no charge to the procuring entity. Number 5, the warranty. Sub-item 5.1, in order to assure the manufacturing defects shall be corrected by the supplier, a warranty shall be required from the supplier as provided under Section 62.1 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. 5.2, the procuring entity shall promptly notify the supplier in writing of any claims arising under this warranty. Upon receipt of such notice, the supplier shall repair or replace the defective goods or parts thereof without cost to the procuring entity pursuant to the generic procurement manual. And for the number 6, the liability of the supplier's liability under this contract shall be as provided by the laws of the Republic of the Philippines. If the supplier is a joint venture, all parties to the joint venture shall be jointly and severally liable to the procuring entity. Schedule of requirements. Following are the schedule of requirements. For the ATMC building, your air handling units, total of 4 units. By the way, the contract duration is 1 year. First preventive maintenance scheduled to be performed within 30 calendar days after receipt of notice to proceed, and the succeeding preventive maintenance scheduled to be performed every quarterly thereafter. The next, the live bird precision ACU, the PACU, a total of 15 units. Next is the Yorkfield coil unit, cassette type, total of 16 units. Next is the Yorkfield coil unit, duct mounted, 43 units. Next is York exhaust fan, total of 22 units. York smoke extraction fan, 10 units. York supply fan, total of 2 units. Next, for the power plant building, York chilled water pump, 3 units. Yorkfield coil unit, cassette type, 6 units. Yorkfield coil unit, ceiling mounted, 7 units. York exhaust fan, duct mounted, 8 units. York exhaust fan, wall mounted, 6 units. Then for the security reception area, York split ACU, wall mounted, 1 unit. Then for canteen building, York split air conditioning unit, cassette type, 10 units. York split air conditioning unit, duct mounted, 3 units. York exhaust fan, duct mounted, 3 units. York exhaust fan, cassette type, 7 units. York exhaust fan, wall mounted, 1 unit. And last for the chillers, York chiller, 3 units, total of 19 items. Here, 8 monthly preventive maintenance and 4 quarterly preventive maintenance. For the checklist, technical component, first, the technical component envelope, the Class A documents, the legal documents, a valid PELJET registration, certificate of platinum membership. Next is the registration certificate from SEC, DTI for sole proprietorship, or Cooperative Development Authority for cooperatives or its equivalent document, and mayor's or business permit issued by the city or municipality where the principal place of business of the prospective bidder is located, or the equivalent document for exclusive economic zone or area, and a tax clearance for Executive Order Number 398, Series of 2005, as finally reviewed and approved by the BIR. For the technical documents, statement of the prospective bidders of all its ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract to be bid. Statement of the bidder's single largest completed contract, SLCC, similar to the contract to be bid, except under condition provided for in Section 23.4.1.3 and 23.4.2.4 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 within the relevant period as provided in the bidding document. Then, original copy of bid security, if in the form of surety bond, submit also a certification issued by the Insurance Commission, or original copy of notarized bid securing declaration, and conformity with the technical specifications, which may include production, delivery schedule, manpower requirements, and or after-sale parts if applicable, and the original duly signed omnibus sworn statements, and if applicable, original notarized secretary's certificate in case of a corporation, partnership, or cooperative, or original special power of attorney of all members of the joint venture, giving full power and authority to its officers to sign the OSS and do acts to represent the bidder. And also, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP Enforcement and Legal Service with respect to the non-pendency of any case of prospective bidders against the authority. Then last, a certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements for bidders as prescribed under the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184. Then for the financial documents, first, the supplier audited financial statement showing, among others, the supplier's total and current assets and liabilities stamped received by the BIR or its duly accredited and authorized institution for the preceding calendar year, which should not be earlier than 2 years from the date of bid submissions, and the prospective bidder's computation of net financial contracting capacity NFCC, or a committed line of credit from a universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation. Then for the Class B documents, if applicable, a duly signed joint venture agreement, JBA, in case of a joint venture is already in existence, or a duly notarized statement from all the potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the JBA in the instance that the bid is successful. Then, for the financial component envelope, original or duly signed and accomplished financial bid forms, and original or duly signed and accomplished price schedules. Other documentary requirements under RA 9184 as applicable. First, for foreign bidders claiming by reason of their country extension of reciprocal rights to Filipinos, certification from the relevant government office of their country stating that the Filipinos are allowed to participate in the government procurement activities for the same item or product. Then, a certification from the DTI if the bidder claimed preference as a domestic bidder or domestic entity. Okay, that ends my presentation. So we'll go to the open discussion and clarification from the prospective bidders. Thank you.
Okay, so to the prospective bidders, do you have some queries? You may proceed now. Prospective bidders, do you have question or clarification?
Sir, from Rose Air, no question po. Thank you po.
Thank you, Elena. How about Saldi?
It's okay, sir. Thank you.
No question also. Okay, so Secretariat, I think there is no more question from the prospective bidder. Please make announcement again for those who are watching the for the submission of any queries for this project. Secretariat, please. Anybody from Secretariat?
Hello, sir. Yes. For additional guidelines for the interested bidders, request for clarification on any part of the bidding documents or for an interpretation must be in writing and submitted to the BAC of the procuring entity concerned at least 10 calendar days before the deadline set for the submission and receipt of bids. The BAC shall respond to the said request, issuing a supplemental bid bulletin duly signed by the BAC chairperson and being further secure the bidding documents at least in calendar days before the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids.
Thank you. Okay, so Secretariat, do you have other agenda?
We proceed to the next agenda.
Okay.
Project of
Okay. Just to we have other two agendas.
participating leaders for joining today's session. Next,
Cutting out ka. Okay, as I see on the agenda, we have two more items. It's already 5 o'clock. May I ask the other members of the BAC and Secretariat if they are amenable to go, to move forward, or to continue this activity?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Elmer.
Yes, since it's already 5:06 and I think everybody want to go home. Can I make motion for the suspension to another day or because the two remaining agenda pre-proc is so a little bit longer. That's the motion, sir. Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
May I hear comment from the end user? ADMS?
Mr. Chair, okay lang po na kung ganun po yung mag-reschedule na lang po. Dahil nag-uuwian na rin po dito sa opisina.
But hindi kaya mapiktan yung project natin. Baka mamaya mayroong negativity ito kung hindi natin.
Yan lang po sir. Yun nga po. Naka-schedule po yung pre-procurement po ng dalawang project natin. Kaya lang nga po, kung pwede rin po mag-extend, yung ibang member po, okay naman po. Online naman po, sir.
Right now, we have 3 members and 1 end user. General Milo, sir, anong comment niya?
Hello?
Sir Milo?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yun po to. Sorry. Ano problema? Ano?
Sir Milo, can we continue or it's already Di po namin naririnig, naka-mute po kayo, sir. Wala kami naririnig, sir.
Sir Arnold, meron ako narinig kay General Milo. Baka dyan lang ang connection mo.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sige, go, sir. Wala ko naririnig kay General Milo. Elmer, meron?
Yeah, no problem for me, Mr. Chair. If the end user is willing to present, I can go online and no problem. I can monitor on my cell phone. That's no problem.
Sir Milo, tuloy natin. Wala ko naririnig, Elmer.
Yeah, nasagot si Sir Miles. Okay lang. Okay, Sir Miles.
Okay, sige. Emerson,
Yes, sir.
I think sige, baka kasi mahirap kasi baka maapektan yung project magkaroon pa ng delay. So, you can proceed with the presentation.
Okay, sir. Sige po. Po. Chris and yung...
Sir Emer, good afternoon. Sir, ako magpe-present for the next item in the agenda. Mr. Chair, if I may proceed.
Go ahead, attorney.
So, Mr. Chair, I will be presenting the emergency repair of the damaged areas at Siquijor Airport due to Typhoon Odette. This project is with a certificate of budget allocation in the amount of 6,351,219 pesos and 64 centavos, shown on screen. Is the signed CBA for the project. Scope of work for the project are as follows: the repair of the passenger terminal building, 65.56% of the amount, improvement of the vehicular parking area, construction of security fence, construction of type 3 frangible fence, and distance to go markers, arranged in the descending order of the proportion in the contract. I will be discussing in detail, Mr. Chair, the items under passenger terminal building because it comprises the majority of the component of this project, while the others are self-explanatory because these are improvements of vehicular parking area, construction of a security fence, frangible fence, and a distance to go marker. So for the passenger terminal building, the plans are shown on screen. This is the plan for the landscaping, the ramp up, and the other plant box and landscaping works to be done. Shown on screen is are the plans for the repair of the roofing and repainting, as well as the rehabilitation of the lettering Siquijor Airport, shown on the lower portion, the airside elevation. Next is plans as well for the roofing repairs and the repainting. Here are the plans for the glass tinting of the passenger terminal building. So for the particular items for the repairs, there would be, first item, the removal of the structures and obstruction caused by the Typhoon Odette, introduction of new check-in counters, glass tinting. Next is the repair of toilet rooms, painting works, trench grating, installation of baggage conveyor hole cover and steel floor cap, landscape of the plants shown before in the plans, toilet partitions, the plant box, ramp finish, catch basin, mobile air coolers, and roofing works, ceiling works, electrical works, and signages. Again, next is the improvement of the VPA, wherein there will be excavation works, concreting of the pavement of 200 millimeter thick, VPA markings as well, and guard post repainting works. Next would be the construction of security fence, which would cover 50 bays at 2-meter length per bay. Next is the construction of the frangible fence, which covers 18 bays at a length of 6 meters length per bay. And for the bidding documents, the particulars are shown on screen. The invitation to bid requires that the bidder would have technical personnel of 1 project or civil engineer, 1 electrical engineer, 1 master electrician, 1 construction foreman, and 1 safety health officer. Equipment that would be needed are shown on screen: 2 units jackhammer, 1 baggage concrete mixer, 1 unit bulldozer, 1 unit payloader, 3 units dump truck, 1 unit motorized road grader, vibratory single smooth drum roller, 1 unit water truck, 2 units concrete vibrator, 1 unit mechanical bar cutter, 1 unit concrete saw, 2 units manual bar cutter, 2 units welding machine, and 2 units oxyacetylene cutting torch or welding outfit. Pickup license needed for this project, Mr. Chair, is small b, license category C and D for building and industrial plant, and the period to complete the project is within 150 calendar days, inclusive of 7 rainy or unworkable days. Other particulars: a complete set of bidding documents for interested bidders are available with the BAC Secretariat in the amount of 11,200 pesos, inclusive of 12% VAT. For the bid data sheet, a certificate of site inspection is needed which must be duly signed by Attorney Rafael Tatlonghari, CAAM Area 7, or his duly authorized representative. It should also include a copy of the company ID of the person who conducted the inspection, copy of the airport facility logbook showing the name of the person who conducted the inspection, pictures of the proposed site, together with the area manager officer in charge or duly authorized representative. Bids not complying with the above shall be disqualified. Next, subcontracting is not allowed for this project, Mr. Chair. Next, technical and financial documents. For Class A documents, the legal documents are shown on screen. The usual documents that we require for our bidders, the PhilJEP's registration certificate, DTI, SEC, or CDA, whichever is proper or necessary for their purpose, mayor's permit or business permit, and tax clearance, finally reviewed by the BIR. Also, the PhilJEP's registration certificate is needed. For the technical documents, the same documents which we regularly request or require from our bidders, such as the PCAAP license, the original copy of the bid security in the form of a surety bond, or an original copy of the notarized bid security declaration. Also, an organizational chart, list of contractors, key personnel, major equipments, their omnibus sworn statement, which should include certification that they have no pending case against the government, legal clearance issued by the CAAP Enforcement and Legal Service, and the bid bulletins if they are applicable. Next, for the financial documents, the prospective bidders would need the financial documents showing their total current assets and liabilities stamped received by the BIR. Next would be the computation of their net financial contracting capacity. Also, Class B document, if applicable, their joint venture agreement. So again, as mentioned before, the valid PCAAP license or required for this one is small B category C and D for vertical works, building, and industrial plant. The key personnel with the required minimum experience shown or indicated in the bid documents are shown on screen. Bids not complying with above shall be disqualified. Next, for the checklist of the financial document, the bidders may offer a discount, but the discount stated in the financial bid form shall be computer written with the same font and style, same as the whole text of the said form. Discounts that are either handwritten or typewritten or computer written in another font style and size shall not be considered. Mr. Chair, bid exceeding the ABC of the project shall be disqualified. With that, Mr. Chair, the ADMS recommends that the project entitled Emergency Repair of Damaged Areas at Siquijor Airport due to Typhoon Odette, with an approved budget of 6,351,219 pesos and 64 cents, be procured through public bidding, Mr. Chair.
Sir Arnold, nakamute ka, Sir Arnold.
Sir Arnold, naka-mute po yung mic niyo. Hello po. I think na-disconnect po si Sir Arnold.
Ako. Walang ano. Okay, sige. So, that is the presentation from EDMS. So, TWG, any comment on this presentation? Any clarification from the other members of the BAC?
None from me, sir.
Okay, so if no more clarification and comment, any motion? The end user is recommending for the approval of the project and for the posting through public bidding.
Yes, sir. The end user is requesting for the for posting through public bidding procurement. Public bidding.
Any recommendation from TWG or motion from other members of the BAC?
Mr. Chair, may we hear first the recommendation of the TWG?
TWG, please. May I call the attention of the members of TWG?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Raul.
Sir, the TWG adopt the recommendation of the end user to post the said project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Then we have now the recommendation of TWG in the motion.
The motion, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt the recommendation of the technical working group to post the project emergency repair of damaged areas at Siquijor Airport due to Typhoon Odette and the mode of procurement to be public bidding.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So the BAC will adopt the recommendation of TWG for the posting of the project and the procurement through public bidding. Thank you. End user, second agenda or next agenda.
Next on our agenda po is the emergency replacement of 1 unit 600 kilowatt chiller at Ilo-ilo Airport with a approved budget of 13,470,127,127.01. This is a project again of ADMS. May we request po the end user or the TWG for the presentation of bid documents. Thank you.
To the chair, Engineer Chris Katakis will present for the procurement.
Okay, Chris, you may proceed.
Chris?
Chris Katakis.
Okay, let me share my screen. Nakikita na po ba, sir?
Wala pa.
Chris, wala pa, Chris.
Wait lang po.
Pakiulit mo lang, Chris, para ma-share kaagad.
Okay po. Ito po, nakikita na po.
Wala pa. Wala pa rin, Chris. Wala pa rin.
Paano ka, pre? Sige, balik mo na. Sabi. Sige, ayaw. Cancel? Message na lang. Okay. Sige. Go. Ito po, sir, nakikita na po.
Okay, Chris. Sige.
Okay po. This is the pre-procurement for the emergency replacement of 1 unit 600 kilowatt chiller at Ilo-ilo International Airport. So, ito po yung location ng chiller na papalitan. Chiller number 1 po. Then, here's the capacity, 600 kilowatt. The ABC of the project is 13,470,127 pesos and 1 centavo. Then the project shall be completed within 180 calendar days. A complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by interested bidders in the amount of 28,000 pesos inclusive of 12% VAT. Then under ITB Clause 5.3, for this purpose, contract similar to the project shall be A. Supply or delivery and installation of chiller. Letter B. Completed within the last 5 years prior to the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. Subcontracting is not allowed. Then under ITB Clause 10 and 11, here are the technical and financial documents required. So ito po yung mga usual na one natin. So here's the checklist of the technical and financial documents, similar to the previous slide. Terms of reference, under general conditions are administrative requirements, prohibitions, safety and sanitation requirements, and requirements for storage of equipment. Then under item 2, scope of work, the contractor shall provide all labor, materials, equipment, tools, technical supervision, and expertise for the replacement of 1 unit 600 kilowatt chiller at Ilo-ilo International Airport, Cabatuan, Ilo-ilo. Under the scope of works are SPL1, mobilization and demobilization. Then the dismantling works, which includes recovery and disposal of R407 refrigerant from 1 unit screw type air-cooled water chiller. Disconnecting or unbolting of existing inlet and outlet chilled water pipes of the existing chiller, cladding, wirings, fittings, and other accessories. The next is dismantling and lifting of 1 unit screw type air-cooled water chiller, including all the components but not limited to the compressors, evaporator, and condenser tubes, and 3-pieces circuit breakers. The contractor shall demolish if there is a need of any obstructions such as hangers and supports for the removal of 1 unit air-cooled water chiller and mounting of the new chiller. All structural and architectural finishes damaged during the course of work shall be restored to its original condition. Then other item is the supply, delivery, installation, testing, and commissioning of 1 unit 600 kilowatt screw type air-cooled water chiller and other air conditioning system complete with all the mechanical, electrical, and control components. Then another is supply and installation of 3 new pieces 200 ampere circuit breakers. Then reconnect and rebolt the existing inlet and outlet chilled water pipes, fittings, cladding, wirings, and other accessories into the 1 new unit chiller. Charging of additional refrigerant if needed. Then the contractor shall provide the additional pad if the existing concrete pad is not sufficient to confirm the chiller's manufacturer's requirement. So ito po yung technical specification ng chiller na kailangan. Then moreover, the chiller shall also be capable and must have the following specifications. The chillers can function as part load cooling system. Number 2, each compressor shall be electrically and mechanically isolated so that if a compressors fails or needs to be serviced, it can be serviced or removed from the chiller without disabling the other compressors and allowing the chiller to remain in operation and other compressors online. The chiller shall have minimum outlet temperature of 44.6 degree Fahrenheit and inlet temperature of 54 degree Fahrenheit. The chiller shall be building management system ready for the integration into the existing BMS of Ilo-ilo International Airport. Then lastly, the chiller shall be compatible with the existing chilled water pump system of the Ilo-ilo International Airport. Then under terms and conditions, the contractor shall submit to the CAAP for approval of the brands of the chiller and other accessories to be supplied, including all shop drawings. Then all chiller and other accessories to be installed without prior approval of CAAP shall be at the risk of rejection. Then number 2, as I've said earlier, the project shall be completed within 180 calendar days. Next is the contractor represents and warrants that it has the capacity to perform its obligations and undertakings according to the terms and conditions of this project, and hereby agrees and warrants that it shall faithfully observe and comply therewith. Number 4, all works must be done without disruption of the working condition of the working areas. Number 5, the contractor shall conduct factory tests of the chiller witnessed by 2 CAAP representatives prior to the shipment. All costs for visa requirements if needed, transportation, board and lodging of the 2 CAAP authorized representatives shall be the account of the contractor. Then, the contractor shall conduct a training or seminar at Ilo-ilo International Airport on the operation and basic troubleshooting of the new chiller for 3 attendees or participants. The contractor shall operate the chiller for a period of 6 months after commissioning. Then the chiller warranty shall be for a period of 1 year and 3 years for the compressors after the acceptance of the project. The warranty shall include the cost of parts and labor. The contractor shall conduct monthly preventive maintenance of the chiller and must submit monthly PM reports to Ilo-ilo International Airport during the warranty period. And here are payment will be made as follows. Lastly, the execution of all works shall be subject to the inspection and acceptance by the CAAP authorized representatives. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That would be all. The end user would like to recommend the posting of the project. Emergency replacement of 1 unit 600 kilowatt chiller at Ilo-ilo International Airport.
Any question from the members as well as the TWG? If none, ako may question. Please.
Yes po, sir.
There is mayroong existing system ng chiller doon sa Ilo-ilo.
Apo, sir.
And you are recommending that the project is public bidding?
Yes po, public bidding pa rin po.
So, hindi kayo magkakaproblema sa integration?
Hindi naman po. Basta naman po ma-meet niya po yung nasa technical specifications natin.
Take note, mayroong mga control system yan. So, kung ibang brand, kung sakasakali yung lalagay, wala bang mga mga problema sa control system?
Hindi naman po kasi ang mahalaga po is ma-meet niya yung temperature po eh.
Yung control system.
Control system. So wala naman pong magiging problema, sir, kung sakali. Kasi yung sa BMS, like sa BMS po, basta ma-meet niya po yung specification dun sa BMS, gana naman po siya. Mako-control po.
Okay. So, I don't know. Kuhan ko lang yan. Mayroon lang akong kuhan doon na parang, of course, magkakaiba yung hindi ako masyadong kuhan doon. Pero yun nga, ang kuhan ko is, yung existing mga chiller is luma na yon. Tapos mayroong mga BMS yan. Tapos papasok ang isang chiller na bago, nasabihin natin kung ibang manufacturer yon, baka magkakaroon tayo ng problema. Kung hindi man siya masisira, baka yung existing ang masisira.
Sir, bali po, basta po na-meet yung requirements dun sa technical specifications.
Binanggit mo na na yung sa building siya.
Apo, ito po. So, bale po ito. Basta po ma-meet niya, wala po tayong magiging problema po. Dun sa integration. Then dito, ito po sa...
Ano yung magiging proof nyo na ma-meet niya? So, kailangan ba mayroon siyang mga document na ipapakita na mayroon na siyang experience na na-integrate niya sa existing system natin? Or the same as existing system natin?
Same po dapat sa existing. Kasi nandito po sa BMS connectivity, basta po ito sa VicNet FX, makokontrol pa rin po yung chiller po.
Yan na nga, ano yung during the evaluation of document, ano yung hahanapin natin as proof na kaya niyang i-integrate yung system? Kaya sabihin niya, okay, kaya ko. Pero ano yung hahanapin natin proof as our reference na naniniwala tayo sa sinasabi niya?
Bali sir, kasi prior po mag-install, magpe-present po siya ng brochure or nung chiller po. Then prior po sa approval po natin. So,
kasi na-award na natin yon kung yan. Considering pa lang sa evaluation ng mga sa bidding pa lang, paano tayo mag-decide ngayon na i-award sa kanya yung project? Wala tayong hinihingi. Sinasabi lang natin na dapat makapag-comply siya sa term of reference. Ano yung mga checklist iti-check natin para makapag-comply siya?
Sir, ayun nga, ito po nandito po sa terms and conditions. So,
ano yung terms of condition?
Ito po, number 1. Ito sa number 4, terms and condition. Shall submit for approval of the brands of the chiller and other accessories to be supplied, including all shop drawings and the list of materials.
Oo nga. Yan yung isasubmit niya.
Opo.
So, maniniwala ka na dyan. I-award mo na sa kanya kahit na hindi na tayo maghanap ng other proof na mayroon na siyang experience na nakapag-install na sa system na kaparehas ng sa atin.
Maybe, sir, we can add that to the terms and conditions na mag-show po sila ng proof na nag-install po sila ng same chiller.
So, okay, sige. I would like to ask some queries kung mayroon yung ibang user o kaya TWI, back members o kaya TWD. Kasi kung na natin ito, ipapayagan na natin ito, ay kung ano nakapresent lang ngayon, ay yun lang. Pero kung sabihin nila mayroong i-rectify pa sila, okay lang naman yan. So kasi ang pa natin dito is mayroong existing system tapos ino-open natin for public bidding. So yun yung ko. Parang makasikot na tayo.
Yes, sir.
So Raul,
Mr. Chair, may question lang po.
Meron dyan.
Yes, so wala po bang to the end user?
Sir.
Wala bang existing sino ang nagme-maintain itong chiller ni Ilo-ilo?
Actually sir, yung mga engineering personnel na po ng Ilo-ilo International
by admin na. So hindi na contract.
Wala na po siya sa Apo.
So yung brand ba na naka-install ngayon dito sa Ilo-ilo is available dito sa atin? Merong exclusive? May exclusive ba na
yes sir, may mga supplier naman po ng like ang brand po kasi is yung Hitachi. So may ko naman po siya. May makakapag-supply naman po.
Walang exclusive na dito sa atin.
I'm not sure sir. Actually si Ilo-ilo International Airport po yung mas familiar.
Kasi kung ganun nga, I understand the worry of Sir Arnold. Baka mamaya during the installation and integration, considering ilang chiller yung nandiyan, baka maapektuhan. during the operation. So as much as possible, sana to rectify the terms and conditions na talagang gas as what Mr. Chairman has said, na meron tayong basis bakit natin i-award sa kanya na siya talaga ang na have the capability to install yung yung chiller kasi orinan ni Sir Arnold kasi masyadong basic yung yung terms and condition. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir. Sir, noted po. Baguhin na lang po yung sa terms and condition po.
Okay. Raul, mayroon ka pang comment?
Ano lang sir, yung katulad ng comment nyo nga sir, siguro ano mo na, ano mo na yung terms of reference na i-include yung yung proof kung paano natutunan yung na na-incorporate dun sa terms of reference and other document na pwede nilang ipatibayan yung kanilang na kaya nilang magpatakbo ng ganong klase kung different siya or something. Ganun, sir.
Okay. So, with that recommendation, so are we going to, is TWD is recommending to approve the request of end user after final revision, or do we need to review again the term of reference?
Sir, as per TWG, siguro sir, muna natin sir, i-clarify muna natin maigi yung sa terms of reference, baka magkulang pa rin pag before we go on to it. Or pwede naman sir na na i-approve natin pero sir, with the meron silang ilagay na bagong mga doon sa terms of reference, and then
okay.
Sir, magkakaroon pa naman ng pre-bid conference, then doon natin sir makikita.
Any comment from the other members?
Mr. Chair, siguro I would suggest to revise and to add kung ano may additional na itadagdag and then to be presented again before we approve the posting.
Okay, so about Sir Milo, do you have some comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I prepare that a complete review must be done before we approve.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so with that comment from the members of the BAC at TWG, any motion?
The motion, Mr. Chair, may I just be clarified, the revised based on our what I made to understand is for the TWG to temporarily approve pending the review. Is that the one we will approve, or
no, sir? The recommendation of Elmer is to complete first to revise the term of reference, and then we will review again. The end user will present it again for the approval of the committee or
proposed bill.
With that, Mr. Chair, may I ask Sir Elmer to have the motion?
Yes, Sir Miles. Okay, Mr. Chair, with that, I move to recommending that the terms of reference for this project be revised and be presented again to the committee for approval. Mr. Chair.
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
With the motion and it was seconded, so the end user is advised to revise the term of reference as we have discussed and directed to present it again at the next meeting of this of BAC Alpha.
Noted, sir. Noted po. The end user will review the terms and condition, terms of reference and terms and condition for the said project, and revise the needed qualification for the prospective bidders and contractors.
Okay. Thank you, Emerson. Secretariat,
Yes, sir. Moving on to the other matter, sir, we have one item. This is a project entitled Supply Delivery of Meteorological Instrument for Catbalogan Airport with bid number 22-003-02 amounting to 9,696,850,000. Sir, bali, this was scheduled last April 26. Opening of bids was scheduled last April 26. However, no bid was submitted po. And at the same time, a quorum was not established po during that day. So, the Secretariat would like to request the recommendation of the TWG and the end user for further disposition po of the project. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you. Just to repeat the information given by Secretariat, it was scheduled, the opening of bid was scheduled last week. However, there is no quorum. So, and also nobody submitted a bid. So, with that, I think the PAC should make a proper disposition on this. Since there is no bid submitted, then of course it is automatically it should be declared as end user as failure of bidding. But proper protocol, we ask the TWD for its recommendation. All. TWD.
Mr. Chair, I think this is an ANS project. I think
Yes,
I'm looking for the TWG from ANS. I think wala na yata makita.
Okay, anyway, so maybe we could just since this is a there is no submitted bid, so maybe within the back of the committee could decide on it. So, Elmer, we could
Yes, Mr. Chair, okay. As from the not submission of the bid during the last meeting, I think that was on April 26. I move, Mr. Chair, to move that this supply delivery of MET instrument for Catbalogan be declared failure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, okay, thank you. With the motion and second the motion, the bidding for the supply and installation supply of weather equipment for Catbalogan Airport is hereby declared failure of bidding. So
So in that case, the secretariat is directed to coordinate with the end user and for the possible rebidding of the project. I will be waiting for the recommendation of end user and the TWG if this will be rebid or for the back for the other action to be undertaken in the next meeting. But for the meantime, the project has been declared failure, and future activity for this meeting will be decided in the next meeting. Thank you. Sir Milo, mayroon kang comment, sir?
For me, none so far, Mr. Chair.
About Elmer?
None, Mr. Chair, for me.
Okay, so I think with that, it's time to adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Masyadong late na tayo.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you po, sir. Thank you po.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Bye.